Chapter 259. A person's potential was limitless. As long as she had a firm belief and will, any difficulty would not be a problem. In her previous life, Yiqing Luo had experienced much more tiring and difficult training than now. In this different world, she had no right to say no if she wanted to become stronger. As long as she persevered, what awaited her would be a bright future. I'll go to the training ground first. After that, Yiqing Luo lifted her heavy footsteps and walked towards the direction of the freshman training ground. Lu Xiaoyu took a breath and followed from behind. "Wait for me. I'll go too." Instructor Ho stared at Yiqing Luo's departing figure and slowly narrowed his eyes. His eyes were full of admiration. "Why? Are you interested in this young lady?" Instructor Chu walked over from behind and put one hand on Instructor Ho's shoulder, the corner of his mouth raised into a smile. Instructor Ho was expressionless, but the admiration in his eyes was obvious. "I seem to see hope in her." "Yes, she herself is a person full of hope." Instructor Chu chuckled. "Her eyes are very firm, and she also has a strong willpower. Such a student will definitely have a place in the Nirvana realm in the future." They had been teaching freshmen for decades, and this was the first time they met a freshman like Yiqing Luo. She was obviously arrogant, but this was a temperament that belonged solely to her. It would only make people appreciate her flamboyance more and more. From Yiqing Luo, they could see the light of hope. It seemed that there was nothing in this world that could trouble her. After a set of double the training, Yiqing Luo had completely overdrawn all her physical strength. Immediately, Yiqing Luo fell on the training ground. Her limbs were wide open and she was panting heavily. Her vision was almost black. Her whole body was heavy and exhausted, completely not like her own body. A group of freshmen who were sweating all looked at this strong-willed woman. Ordinary women, no matter how hard and tired they were, would try their best to maintain the characteristics of a woman in front of everyone. Who would be like Yiqing Luo, directly lying on the ground, completely ignoring the gaze of others. Especially, Yiqing Luo was covered in sweat, lying on the ground, damn charming. Even the female students couldn't stop their little hearts from thumping nonstop. Yiqing Luo closed her eyes as she quietly adjusted her breathing, allowing her body and mind to completely relax. The after effects of overexerting his strength appeared in every muscle of his body. Her entire body was aching, and it was difficult for her to even raise her hand. Suddenly, his face turned cold. She abruptly opened her eyes and was met with a pair of indifferent eyes. "Have a cup of water." The young man was holding the cup and placed it on Yiqing Luo's face. Seeing that she had opened her eyes, he passed the cup to Yiqing Luo. It was Qi Yijing. Yiqing Luo didn't stand on ceremony as she received the cup and drained it in one gulp. After double the training, her mouth was already dry, but her body was so tired that she didn't want to move even half a finger. "Why are you working so hard? Training has to be done step by step, right?" Qi Yijing glanced at Yiqing Luo. He was curious why this woman would work so hard to complete all the training. She was already the most outstanding one among all the new students. Chapter 260. It's important to consolidate the foundation, but it's also important to strike a balance between work and rest. Qi Yijing sat down against the wall. "If you can't do it, take a break. There will be another chance. If you die of exhaustion in this training ground, you won't even have the chance to complete it." Yiqing Luo placed the back of her hand on her eyes. "I understand." She just didn't want to give up easily. What she could do in her past life, she could do it now. What she couldn't do in her previous life, in this strange world, she, who could cultivate profound qi, must do it. Qi Yijing frowned slightly, glanced sideways, and stared deeply at the woman lying next to him. After blocking the pair of enchanting eyes, her face actually looked exceptionally pure and sweet, and much more tender. From the first day, in the inner ring of the square, Dong Huanglang had his eyes on this girl. Dong Huanglang always mentioned Yiqing Luo, mentioning her perseverance, mentioning her pair of eyes that were always full of determination. It was as if seeing her gave people hope. Because of this, Qi Yijing also paid some attention to Yiqing Luo. Qi Yijing was staring at Yiqing Luo when his shoulder suddenly felt heavy. A tall body, pressed on his shoulder, brought a strong stench of sweat and the sticky feeling of sweat. Qi Yijing didn't even frown, just faintly took out a towel and passed it behind him. "What are you guys talking about?" Dong Huanglang raised a teasing smile. Jing, staring at student Yi without blinking, could it be? Seeing student Ye's beauty, you're attracted? Don't talk nonsense. Qi Jing's eyes slightly sunk, turned his head, stood up, and smashed the towel in his hand hard on his head. His two hands wiped the sweat on Dong Huanglang's hair and face and scolded in a low voice. "Between the two of us, you can talk nonsense at will. Classmate Yi is a girl. A single joke will ruin her reputation." Dong Huanglang calmly sat on the ground, closed his eyes, and enjoyed Qi Yijing wiping the sweat on his body. It could be seen that these two people usually got along like this. "Student Yi, you have to report to the devil class in the afternoon. Are you afraid?" Dong Huanglang kicked Yiqing Luo's calf and asked. Yiqing Luo opened her eyes and squinted at Dong Huanglang. "Why should I be afraid? I heard that the students of the devil class are a bunch of lunatics." Dong Huanglang turned his head and told them what he had heard. The devil class consists of the batch of new students who have been eliminated after the training. They do not have much strength and were allocated to the trash class. All of them have weird personalities and have scared away quite a few masters. When Dong Huanglang said this, he deliberately lowered his voice to create a terrifying atmosphere. Moreover, I don't know what method the devil class used to separate the class from the academy. It said that in recent years, the entire academy, including the teachers, have never seen the students from the devil class. Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as she leaned against the wall and climbed up. "Haven't seen him in recent years? Is the academy sure that the devil class still exists?" The devil class is a trash class. Naturally, the academy is not willing to spend manpower and financial resources on the devil class. Therefore, in recent years, the academy has treated the devil class as if it doesn't exist. Every half a year after the recruitment of new students, if they meet unqualified students, they will throw them into the devil class. It's strange that the students who were thrown in either left the academy in a deranged state or never saw that student again. So this devil class is quite strange. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyelids as her eyes gradually sunk. Listening to this devil class, it seemed a little interesting. Originally thought that it was just an ordinary trash class, she did not expect it to be so mysterious. Chapter 261. Of course, as the saying goes, a drop of water should be repaid with a gushing spring. During the first training, you spoke up for us brothers, so you are our friend. Dong Huanglang waved his hand nonchalantly. "Student Yi, with your strength, as long as you report to the principal, you can definitely transfer to the high profound class." Saying that, he propped his hands on the ground. His clear eyes stared straight at Yiqing Luo. "Student Yi, let's go to the principal to plead for you." "No need." Yiqing Luo lightly hooked her pink lips. Gentle emotions flowed between her brows. "You know you're doing this for my own good. It's all right." This smile made Dong Huanglang's eyes blurred for a moment. "Classmate, you is truly incomparably beautiful." Every smile and frown revealed a charm that could captivate one's soul. It was until Qi Yijing frowned and coughed dryly that Dong Huanglang suddenly regained his senses. He foolishly touched his head and smiled, lowering his head shyly. In order to avoid the topic, Dong Huanglang immediately followed up Yiqing Luo's words. "How could it be all right? The devil class is full of waste. Such an outstanding student like you should not go to the devil class." Waste. Yiqing Luo's smile gradually deepened, revealing her enchanting charm. The Heavenly Academy is known as the best academy. The admission assessment is especially complicated. You have experienced it yourself, so you should understand. If you do not have the corresponding strength, how could you possibly pass the admission assessment? When the two heard this, they were both stunned. No one is born waste. At least those who pass the admission assessment are the best among the ordinary people, just a little inferior compared to the Academy's elite. Entering the Devil class does not mean that you are waste. The days ahead are so long. Who knows what will become? At least for the past 10 years, I am a waste without any profound chi foundation. But now, I am standing in the Heavenly Academy's training ground, isn't it? Dong Huanglang's eyes widened in astonishment, and only reacted after a long while. Devil class was classified as the trash class, so everyone in the class were all labeled as trash. Over time, no one remembered that they had once relied on their own strength to enter the Heavenly Academy. This was the first time someone said so righteously that the people in Devil class were not trash. Yiqing Luo slowly stood up. Her charming eyes were filled with determination. I've always believed in this sentence, whether I'm a waste or not. It's not up to any of you to say it. Only when we say it ourselves will it count. What a good saying. Qi Jing's eyes lit up. There seemed to be a sense of pride in his heart that gradually spread. He laughed and hugged Dong Huanglang. His face was always cold, but when he smiled, the lines of his face looked extremely soft. No one can arbitrarily determine the life of others, and no one can trample on the dignity of others. Why do they have to be linked with trash after entering the Devil class? Have the students of the Devil class ever admitted that they were trash? Those who arbitrarily decide other people's lives are the real scum, the real trash. As long as he believed that he was not trash and had not given up on himself, then he was definitely not trash. All right, I have to report to class in a while. I'll go back and change in my uniform first. Yiqing Luo's entire body was sticky and tired. She didn't say anything more to them, dragged her sore and weak body, and left the training ground. Perhaps she was too tired. Yiqing Luo didn't notice that at the entrance of the training ground, there was an unprepossessing young man in uniform, staring at her leaving figure. Chapter 262. Yiqing Luo tidied herself up and didn't have any time to rest before it was time to report to the class. Lu Xiaoyu's slightly nervous call came from outside the door. Yiqing Luo soaked her sweaty uniform in the water, wiped her hands, and got up. Just as she was about to open the door, Chi suddenly ran out from the void and jumped onto the bed. It took out a jade bottle from under the pillow. Ow, ow. Yiqing Luo saw the pill bottle and remembered that the gentleman with the surname Chu had sent a follower to give her the pill yesterday. As her natal battle pet, Chi could feel her physical exhaustion, so it specially came out from a void to remind her to take the pill. Qing Luo, are you not done yet? I'm going to report to see the master soon. I'm so nervous. Lu Xiaoyu urged anxiously outside the door. Yiqing Luo took a pill and threw the bottle on the bed, opened the door, and walked out. Lu Xiaoyu stood at the door, her hands clutching her uniform, her face full of nervousness. These few days, Lu Xiaoyu was always by her side. In Yiqing Luo's eyes, she was the kind of person who was completely fearless. The current Lu Xiaoyu had some feeling of a new lease of life. Don't worry, you have met the standard of Intermediate Profound Class 2 in all the assessments. Yiqing Luo rubbed her little head. Not only the students have to compete, there is also competition between the masters. What they compete with is the elite students they bring out. As long as you stay in the Intermediate Profound Class 2, the masters will not treat you badly if they want results. Yes, it's all competition. These masters are also competing to receive gifts. Lu Xiaoyu pouted and looked a little unhappy. I don't know how many gifts Shangguan Liuli has given to the headmaster. Receive gifts? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. It seemed that gift-giving had never been conventional since ancient times. You don't have to worry about Shangguan Liuli for now. If she makes a move on you, just tell me. Yiqing Luo looked at the sky and dragged Lu Xiaoyu's arm out of the dormitory. I'm not afraid of her. If she dares to touch me, I'll beat her until her parents can't recognize her. Lu Xiaoyu clenched her fists and snorted coldly. The reason why she would vent her anger on you is probably because of me. After all, she has a brother from the high profound class. It's better to be careful. For a lady like Shangguan Liuli, She would absolutely not let go of any chance to strike Yiqing Luo. The two of them walked out of the dormitory side by side. Devil Class and Intermediate Profound Class 2 were heading in different directions. Yiqing Luo comforted Lu Xiaoyu with a few words, and after sending her off with her eyes, she then followed the map and searched for the direction of Devil Class. Following the map, the number of students walking to and fro on both sides gradually decreased. The surrounding environment also became more and more secluded. Finally, she stopped at the very corner of the academy, outside an extremely spacious courtyard. Raising his head, he saw a plaque hanging crookedly above the courtyard. Devil Class. Every class in the Heavenly Academy had its own courtyard. This was the biggest courtyard Yiqing Luo had ever seen. But it was precisely because it was so big that Yiqing Luo felt that the entire courtyard seemed extremely desolate and cold. When a gust of wind blew, it could even swirl up the broken leaves on the ground. The periphery, which had not been cleaned all year round, was covered with cobwebs and was even more dilapidated than the abandoned courtyard which Yiqing Luo stayed in the Three Springs sect. These few days, when she passed by other classes' courtyards, they were all filled with flowers and plants, looking extremely elegant. But when it came to Devil Class, it was this scene. Chapter 263. Yiqing Luo pushed open the courtyard door and walked in. The branches on the ground creaked as she stepped on them. In the quiet and desolate courtyard, it seemed extremely strange. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly as she took one step at a time, walking very slowly. Along the way, no matter how careful Yiqing Luo was, her clothes were stained with some spiderwebs. Finally, she reached the second courtyard door, and Yiqing Luo's hand had just touched the door when she froze. She smelled an extremely light, medicinal smell. Yiqing Luo's brows knitted even tighter as she retracted her hand. There was actually a medicinal smell on this door handle. Moreover, there was an extremely unfamiliar medicinal smell which she couldn't smell. So what medicinal herb was it? Wait a minute. There was someone. This thought had just surfaced in Yiqing Luo's mind when Chi on her shoulder had already stood up with its fur standing up as it growled softly and stared at that door. There was someone behind the second door. As a sacred beast, Chi's perceptive ability was above Yiqing Luo's. Was it a Devil Class's student? Yiqing Luo's expression sunk slightly as she slowly retreated a few steps. Just as her feet moved by half an inch, a swoosh sound was heard, and a round object flew towards her. Yiqing Luo's figure bent backwards as she turned her feet and avoided that thing. She saw that round object pierced into the wall behind her. They were two coin darts whose outer rings had been sharpened to an extreme extent. Half of it was embedded into the wall. If these two darts were to pierce into her body, they wouldn't just be half embedded. Yiqing Luo steadied herself and stood up straight as she looked towards the direction where the darts came from. She saw the second courtyard door had already been opened, and a tall young man stood there as he tossed several gold coin darts in his hands. That face was unattractive and absolutely not pleasing to the eye. But unfortunately, the young man's imposing manner made Yiqing Luo take a few more glances at him. Freshman. The young man's eyes were like a wild beast as he sized up Yiqing Luo as his lips curled into a sly sneer. Yiqing Luo frowned, but her expression remained unchanged. Yes. The young man suddenly kept the gold coin darts in his palm and clapped his hands. Brothers, come out and welcome the new student. His words had just ended when 7 to 8 people surrounded that desolate courtyard. Their faces were filled with curiosity and curiosity. Some of them stared at Yiqing Luo and licked their lips from time to time with a drooling look. New student, we haven't had a new student in a long time. It's rare to see a new student, and such a beautiful one at that. I wonder if the class monitor will like her if I send her to him. Bah, what kind of person was the class leader? How could he possibly fall for such a woman? The few of them stared at Yiqing Luo and discussed for some time before they heard the young man at the door saying, "Let the new student feel our welcome to her properly." The few of them immediately leapt up like wild beasts, pouncing towards Yiqing Luo. Damn it! Yi-Ching Luo couldn't help but cursed in her heart. Who would welcome a new student in such a way? This momentum was clearly the rhythm of wanting to kill her. Yi-Ching Luo's figure swiftly retreated backwards as her footwork revolved, deftly evading those few people. Being surrounded by those people, she couldn't fight back at all. These people were watching him from all directions. Those few people pounced on empty air as a sliver of astonishment flashed past their eyes, as though they had not expected that the new student who had been allocated to the devil class could actually evade the 8 of them's simultaneous encirclement. Chapter 264. Those bursts of profound qi were getting more and more intense. Yi-Ching Luo was slightly stunned as her vision revolved around their chests. On seeing the light emitted from their profound jade heart, her eyes widened in astonishment. Her heart was in a mess, as though 10,000 alpacas were running wildly. Damn it! What happened to the trash class? Among these 8 people, the lowest mystic rank was Mystic rank 3. The highest was Mystic Profound 9th grade. The Academy was certain that these people were the last few in the recruitment of new students. Were they certain that this was the devil class which was labeled as trash? If these people were all trash, then those students from the lower and intermediate classes would be a joke. Yi-Ching Luo scoffed lightly as her lips curled into a cold arc of ridicule. She really didn't know how Heavenly Academy became the best academy. Those people from the elder quarters were all blind. They actually allocated these talents to the devil class. However, Yi-Ching Luo's smile, in everyone's eyes, was ridiculing them. Instantly their eyes were filled with anger as they recalled the class monitor's instructions. Without any mercy, they attacked towards Yi-Ching Luo's direction at the same time. Yi-Ching Luo's footwork was strange as her feather fan flipped a few times on her fingertips and shot out a burst of biting cold profound qi. That profound qi followed the movements of Yi-Ching Luo's fingers and turned into a whirlwind as it revolved around those 8 people. Immediately following that, her palm moved and rolled up the withered yellow leaves on the ground. A gust of airflow rose from Yi-Ching Luo's feet as an intense gale swept up Yi-Ching Luo's uniform. Her long dress fluttered in the wind, and the green and white academy uniform on her body seemed exceptionally beautiful on her. The lady's eyes were enchanting, and her eyes were as bright as the stars, sparkling with a charming glint. Her palm flipped, and those pieces of leaves turned into sharp blades as it flew towards those 8 people. Those 8 people's eyes were filled with shock as they wanted to evade, but Yi-Ching Luo's fingers, which were holding on her feather fan, tightened. The few of them totally couldn't move, as though they were bound by something. As the 8 of them struggled, they discovered that the whirlwind which Yi-Ching Luo had stirred up had coincidentally trapped a few of them within it. This strand of profound energy had firmly blocked their path. By the time they struggled free from the restraints of this profound qi, those pieces of sharp leaves came flying towards them. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A few gold coin darts flew past those 8 people and coincidentally knocked down all the leaves that Yi-Ching Luo's palm wind brought up. The youth standing at the door took a few steps and stood in front of the 8 people. The 8 of them were panting heavily as their fists were clenched tightly and the green veins on their foreheads were popping out, as they had the morale to fight with Yi-Ching Luo once again. Mystic Profound Rank 4. The young man narrowed his eyes and curled his fingers. The money darts that were stuck on the wall and the ground quickly returned to his palm. Yi-Ching Luo's eyes suddenly narrowed as she stared at the young man in astonishment. He could actually see her profound rank. Could it be that he also had the ability to see through her profound jade heart? With your profound rank, you can at least enter the intermediate profound class. How did you get assigned to the devil class? The youth didn't seem to notice her doubts and directly asked the question he wanted to ask. Your profound grade shouldn't be in the devil class, so why are you in the devil class? Yi-Ching Luo raised her brows and asked. The young man remained silent for a while as he stared at Yi-Ching Luo's gaze, revealing a strange probing and sizing her up. The few people behind him had suffered under Yi Qing Luo's hands earlier and were fuming. Vice Class Monitor, why are you wasting your breath on her? Just kill her and throw her away. Chapter 265. Those 8 people's faces were like frosted eggplants as they clenched their teeth tightly, not uttering a single word. After all, they had indeed suffered a loss in Yi Qing Luo's hands earlier. No matter what method Yi Qing Luo used, a loss was a loss. If it wasn't for the assistant class monitor's help, their necks would have been severed by those leaves. Since the welcome is over, can I go in now? Yi Qing Luo looked at the assistant class monitor. This young man was obviously the leader of these people. Yes, the assistant class monitor moved his body aside. The second door was open and Yi Qing Luo looked in. It was a totally different environment from this desolate outer courtyard. It was a spacious training ground, and there were 2 weapon racks placed outside the ground. There were all kinds of weapons on top. On the ground, there was a huge devil word carved using profound qi. Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly. As expected, this devil class was like the class of gods, hidden so mysteriously that even those teachers in the academy might not know what students were in the devil class. This was enough to prove that the devil class was extraordinary. Those masters and elders who treated the devil class as trash, if they knew that they had lost some students of the mystic rank and their abilities were considered to be above average, how upset would they be? Yi Qing Luo walked over, and when she passed by the second door, her footsteps suddenly stopped. The cunning smile on the assistant president's face froze on his face. Yi Qing Luo's nose was filled with that faint herbal smell. No wonder they gave up their positions so readily. No wonder they had scared away several teachers in the devil class. This kind of welcome, if it was an ordinary person, they would not be able to take it. Is this your new way of welcoming new students? Yi Qing Luo ridiculed as her lips twitched. A trace of astonishment flashed past the assistant class monitor's eyes as he laughed loudly. How did you detect it? Smell. Yi Qing Luo pointed at her own nose. You can try next time. Change it to a drug that will make you fall for it to welcome new students. You're also an alchemist? The assistant class monitor stared at Yi Qing Luo with interest. You can say so. Her current alchemy level had been neglected for a long time. The assistant class monitor laughed loudly as he took out a handkerchief from his sleeve and threw it to one of the men behind him. The man took the handkerchief and walked over to wipe the doorknob and threshold. Congratulations on joining the devil class. Vice Class Monitor stretched out his hand towards Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo swept a glance at his palm as her lips curled up slightly, revealing an enchanting smile. Congratulations to the both of you for having one more companion. Vice Class Monitor wasn't angry because of Yi Qing Luo's refusal to shake his hand, as he didn't feel awkward at all as he retracted his hand. Hearing Yi Qing Luo's words, a mysterious smile surfaced on his face. I hope so. This hope? What the hell was this? The meaning was, and a welcoming gift for new students? One stage after another, this was even more difficult than the academy entrance examination. Yi Qing Luo's mouth twitched a few times. Just tell me what else you have behind, or call your class monitor out. If you can make a move, don't talk nonsense. Don't waste both parties' time. As soon as these words came out, the young man and the 8 people behind him revealed looks of horror. You want to fight the class leader? This female student was too arrogant. Who's our class leader? Do you think you can do it whenever you want? Among the 8 people, the only female spat disdainfully. She was the one who said Yi Qing Luo was just a superficial person. From her tone, one could tell that this lady admired the class monitor a lot. Chapter 266. Who was the class monitor they were talking about? From the looks of it, he was very popular. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she revealed some impatience. Either you cancel the welcoming ceremony or you get the class monitor to come out directly. You guys are acting like a lady in your bedroom, dawdling around. Even if you don't find it troublesome, I find it troublesome. No matter where it was, the strong were revered and ability was the law. Devil Class's students weren't willing to accept her. Then she could only start from their most revered class monitor. If she won, these students would naturally be docile and docile. If she lost, then it didn't matter. Anyway, she was a freshman. At most, she would just accept another wave of warm, welcoming ceremony. That lady's expression suddenly sunk as she raised her hand and released a burst of profound chi. That profound chi was as swift as lightning as it swiftly struck towards Yi-Ching Luo's direction. Yi-Ching Luo's lips curled into a smile as she waved her feather fan lightly. A coquettish red glow bloomed as it directly collided with that burst of profound chi. Boom! A loud sound was heard. That lady's body was flung out heavily as she fell onto the courtyard's training grounds. One sentence, simple and direct. Let me in if you want to fight. Yi-Ching Luo kept her feather fan as the coquettish glint in her eyes flashed with a cold glint. These people were already used to the pattern of the strong being revered. Yi-Ching Luo couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with them, as she directly killed the chicken to warn the monkey. She could only blame that lady for making a move on her at this moment. Then she couldn't be blamed for not knowing how to have tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex. The other 7 people saw that the lady was injured as they immediately rushed into the training grounds. Yi-Ching Luo seemed as though she didn't see anything as she continued staring at Vice Class Monitor with a smile, which didn't look like a smile, waiting for his answer. There were only the 2 of them in the desolate outer courtyard. The wind blew and the withered yellow leaves were like butterflies dancing as they revolved around the both of them. Yi-Ching Luo's green and white uniform fluttered in the wind. Under the contrast of the butterflies like leaves, it had a unique charm. However, this beautiful scene was completely ruined by the Vice Class Monitor. His arms were crossed as he didn't turn his head to look at that lady's condition in the training grounds. His beast-like eyes shone with a mysterious glint. His unprepossessing face became even more sinister. The 2 of them stared at each other, and there was a surging undercurrent in their eyes. After a while, the Vice Class Monitor's smile deepened. I've already saved you the trouble of receiving the class monitor. As for fighting with him, there's no need at all. After saying that, he turned around and walked through the second door. What does that mean? There's no need to fight anymore? Did that mean they had accepted her as a new student? Yi-Ching Luo's brows creased slightly as she followed closely behind Assistant Class Monitor. Even the footsteps he took overlapped with a Vice Squad leader's footprints. Yi-Ching Luo had just entered the inner courtyard when the door behind her closed with a pong sound. Yi-Ching Luo was so shocked that she turned back to take a look. The courtyard door had been locked, and only the Devil Class's students would be able to open it. After entering the inner courtyard, Yi-Ching Luo scanned the surroundings and instantly felt the true meaning of a completely different world. The inner courtyard's training ground was extremely spacious, about the size of the freshman's training ground. There was another long road ahead. The school is over there. Vice Class Monitor saw Yi-Ching Luo staring straight ahead as he reminded, although Devil Class doesn't have any teachers to teach, but you must report to the school on time every day. Yi-Ching Luo nodded her head thoughtfully. In that case, Teacher Gui, you had not reported to the Devil Class. Chapter 267. Yi-Ching Luo roughly understood the general rules of Devil Class from the Assistant Class Monitor. This Assistant Class Monitor was called Xiao Jin, and he had been in Devil Class for 3 years. The learning situation in Devil Class was exactly the same as the other classes. Other than the freshmen, all the students in Devil Class had to train in this training ground. Because the freshmen had to go through 1 month's mandatory freshman training when they entered the Heavenly Academy. The other classes and rest times were no different from the other classes. Who is the class monitor that you mentioned? Yi-Ching Luo asked curiously. According to the news that Dong Huanglang had gathered, Devil Class had only started to disappear in recent years and was mysterious and unfathomable. Presumably, the reason should be because of this class monitor. This class monitor was revered by all the students in the class and was able to drive all the students to maintain the same training as the other classes. This class monitor, what kind of person was he? Yiqing Luo's interest was piqued. Xiao Jing gave a mysterious smile, but didn't reply. At this moment, those few people in the training ground stared gloomily at Yiqing Luo, but she has fainted. Earlier, the lady who made a move on Yiqing Luo was called Dan by Shi. 2 years ago, she was allocated to Devil class and had fallen in love with the class monitor at first sight and was totally his loyal fan. The people surrounding her were all the students who had been allocated to Devil class in these few years. These people had experienced life and death together, and their relationship was like biological siblings. Now that they saw Dan by she fainted by Yiqing Luo, the anger in their hearts surged up once again. A cultivator can't even take such a small injury. Her body is too weak. Yiqing Luo's vision swept past Dan by Shi's face. This lady's face was pale without any color of blood, and the tight-fitting uniform made her figure look extremely slender. Her body is too weak, and she needs to train hard to consolidate her body's quality. When Yiqing Luo's words fell, those few gloomy and sullen faces revealed an astonished expression. A skinny young man lowered his eyes and looked at Dan by Shi, who was lying in his arms as he clicked his tongue. Class monitor also said the same thing. Why did she say the same thing as class monitor? The few of them shook their heads. Xiao Jin's pitch-black eyes were filled with a probing intent. He habitually touched the coin dart. All right. Send Bai Shi back to her room and let Lu take a look at her. With that said, he tossed the coin dart in his hand into the air and caught it. He looked towards Yiqing Luo and smiled with interest. Go and report to the class first. I'm sure there are quite a number of students who are interested in the newcomer. Yiqing Luo could tell that the meaning behind his words was very strange as the corners of her eyes twitched a few times. Don't tell me. The reception hasn't ended yet. Our welcoming ceremony has ended, but it doesn't mean that the other students are willing to end it. F***CK. Yiqing Luo's entire being was in a mess. Just how many students were there in the Devil class? Could it be that they were not the representatives sent by the students? Might as well call the class leader out and fight. This was the simplest method. However, Xiao Jin totally didn't bother about her, as he directly pointed out a route, telling Yiqing Luo how to report to the academy, and left with those few people carrying Dan by Shi. Crossing the training ground and walking along the small path, roughly half a quarter of an hour later, the third door appeared in front of Yiqing Luo's eyes. From that tightly shut door, Yiqing Luo could still hear the noise from inside. It was a noisy mess. Chapter 268. The lights in the classroom were brightly lit, and there were about 40 over students who were playing around happily. When Yiqing Luo pushed the door and entered, everyone's gazes merely swept past her before they retracted their gazes and continued to play around. Yiqing Luo acutely sensed that when these people looked at her, their gazes were filled with a sense of gloating. Right now, it was merely the calm before the storm. What made Yiqing Luo most astonished was that there were so many students in this Devil class. In the entire classroom, there were about 70 over tables and chairs, and there were quite a number of empty seats. Yiqing Luo swept a glance across the classroom, and her gaze was fixed on the last row of the classroom, at the corner. All the tables and chairs were neatly lined up, except for that one table and chair, which was alone in the corner. Yiqing Luo didn't think too much as she directly walked over and sat down. Instantly, the bustling classroom fell into a dead silence. All the students' gazes were all fixed on Yiqing Luo. Their expressions were filled with disbelief and astonishment, as their mouths opened into an O shape. There were even some students who lost their footing due to the shock and fell onto the ground, staring blankly at Yiqing Luo, forgetting to climb up. The baptism of these gazes made Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she lowered her eyes to look at herself. There wasn't any place which was worthy of their attention. Could it be that the place which she was sitting at was not right? At this moment, a skinny, malnourished young lady who was huddled in the corner walked over. She endured the gazes from the others as she reminded her softly, "New student, this is Sir Class Monitor's place. You'd better get up quickly, otherwise these people will teach you a harsh lesson." That legendary class monitor's position? No wonder there was a table and chair alone in the corner. Coming to other people's turf, Yiqing Luo wasn't that kind of brainless, arrogant person. Moreover, she was very curious about the identity of this revered class monitor. Because of this, Yiqing Luo didn't insist on sitting here forcefully. Just as she was about to stand up, a biting cold palm wind suddenly came from the side of her cheek. Yiqing Luo was astute as she evaded sideways. That palm wind hit empty air and, with a boom, a clear 5-finger print was imprinted on the wall. "Lowly trash, who allowed you to sit in Sir Class Monitor's place? You've dirted Sir Class Monitor's seat." A tall lady slammed the table fiercely as she stood up. Her expression was cold, completely different from Lu Shuiyu's. Her coldness exuded a domineering aura. Yiqing Luo was about to get up and leave her seat when her slender brows creased slightly. She was planning to leave this position, but that didn't mean she liked being forced to leave her position. This woman didn't allow for any explanation and started to make a move. So Yiqing Luo didn't intend to get up. The frail young lady who stood in front of her trembled as her voice trembled. "Sister Ziqing. She's a new student and doesn't know the rules of the devil class. Can you give her a chance?" Before she could finish her sentence, a student walked up impatiently and pushed the young lady away. "And I, Rupin, you haven't even completed your own mission, and you're already thinking of helping your new classmate? If you want to help, you have to see if you have the ability to." The girl named Ni Rupin was pushed to the ground. She shrunk back and bit her lower lip, but she still stubbornly said, "Big Sister Ziqing, I beg you, don't punish the new student." Chapter 269. Yiqing Luo frowned. Devil classes students were all profound grade. She knew it when she was in the outer courtyard. But she didn't expect the devil classes students to insult their classmates as waste. Although Ni Ruo Pan ran out herself to speak up for her. But after all, Ni Ruo Pan did it for her. Yiqing Luo naturally wouldn't abandon Ni Ruo Pan. "Lowly waste, get up." The lady stared at Yiqing Luo rudely. Seeing that she was still sitting on the class monitor's seat, her gaze turned colder. Yiqing Luo placed one hand on the table. A chilly glint appeared in her eyes. "Let me get up?" "Sure. But first, apologize to her." Saying that, she pointed at Ni Ruo Pan, who was curled up on the ground. Ni Ruo Pan's face instantly turned pale as she waved her hands. No need. New student, get up quickly. If the class monitor is here, you will be punished." Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at Ni Ruo Pan. "Shut up." Ni Ruo Pan's unfinished words were stuck in her throat. This freshman had such a strong aura, absolutely not inferior to Tong Ziqing. Just one look at her, and she felt cold all over, not daring to say another word. Ni Ruo Pan slowly loosened her lower lip as she stared blankly at Yiqing Luo, lost in thought. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled into a coquettish arc. Her fingertips moved slightly, and the energy from her feather fan lifted Ni Ruo Pan up. "Waste!" Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she looked at Tong Ziqing in ridicule. "This student, as the same class student, if she is waste, then were you?" Tong Ziqing's face suddenly darkened. The other students' expressions were extremely ugly. Sitting on their most respected class monitor seat, she actually dared to insult their goddess. This new student was too arrogant. "She's a waste. She can't even complete a simple task assigned by the class monitor. Isn't she a waste?" Among the dozens of students, someone spoke out in disdain. "You who were allocated to the devil class are also a waste. No wonder you are birds of feather. Waste attracts waste." Meaning, all of you here are all waste? Yiqing Luo sneered as her feather fan suddenly opened and a whirlwind flew towards the students. No one had expected Yiqing Luo to make a move. For a moment, no one was prepared. With this momentum, even if he was prepared, he might not be able to avoid it. With a blood-curdling scream, the student who spoke just now was sent flying. You guys are also students of the devil class. Are you all trash? Or is it that in your eyes, as long as you're a student of the devil class, you're associated with trash? Yi Qing Luo slowly stood up as her face was filled with ridicule. Harboring this kind of thinking, I even feel that it's a waste of time to fight with you. With that, she kicked the table in front of her away. The table flipped a few times in the air before crashing heavily onto the ground. Sawdust and dregs were scattered on the ground. This was their turf, and Yi Qing Luo originally didn't intend to clash with them. After all, they still had to get along for a period of time in the future. However, it didn't mean that she would let anyone bully her. Yi Qing Luo's principle was that she would not offend others if others did not offend her. Since these students had to offend her, and even implicated a female student who was trying to protect her, then she couldn't take it anymore. Yi Qing Luo's action was obviously a tight slap on this bunch of students' faces. That was their revered class monitor's table and chair. But it was overturned by this new student. The surrounding students were filled with rage, as though they couldn't wait to tear Yi Qing Luo into pieces. Lowly waste, I will make you pay the price for what you've done. Tong Ziqing's face was filled with gloomy clouds as her palm flipped over and a soft whip appeared in her palm. Chapter 270. Yi Qing Luo's heart felt a burning sensation, extremely intense. She narrowed her eyes, and a yellow light emitted from Tong Ziqing's heart. Yellow grade profound jade heart. Profound jade heart was divided into 7 grades. The higher the grade, the higher the power, and the easier it was to advance to the profound grade. This yellow grade profound jade heart was ranked 3rd. Like Yi Qing Luo's profound jade heart, which was formed by DMO Xian, it was only ranked 2nd among the orange grade profound jade heart. As for Yi Fengyu, he had taken the pill, which she refined before he broke through to the orange grade profound jade heart. Yi Qing Luo's heart trembled. The gaze which she shot towards Tong Ziqing was filled with deep thoughts. Tong Ziqing was actually a yellow grade profound jade heart. Why was she allocated to the devil class? This devil class was indeed not as simple as it looked on the surface. There were crouching tigers and hidden dragons everywhere. That soft whip in Tong Ziqing's hand was like a living thing. Under Tong Ziqing's control, it quickly wrapped around Yi Qing Luo. The strength of the soft whip was extremely strong, giving out a hissing sound in the air. Tong Ziqing was extremely skilled in using the soft whip. As she waved it, the soft whip shot out bursts of flames, not hurting the other students at all. Her target was only Yi Qing Luo alone. That soft whip was like a snake with the power to topple mountains and overturn the seas. It met head-on. The surrounding students were extremely confident in Tong Ziqing's whip skills. Their eyes were filled with gloating smiles. This new student really deserved it. Did she really think the devil class's students were all trash? A new student who had just arrived dared to be so arrogant and even dared to smash the class monitor's table. Even if she killed her, it would not be enough to vent the anger in her heart. Let Goddess Tong teach her a good lesson. Teach this new student. What was the meaning of when you're in someone else's territory, obediently tuck your tail between your legs and await punishment? Just as the surrounding students thought that this whip would be able to split Yi Qing Luo's skin and flesh. But that soft whip which was heading towards Yi Qing Luo with the force of lightning had actually stopped in midair. The scuttling sparks gradually stopped. Tong Ziqing's body froze. The hand which was holding the soft whip suddenly could not move. She was extremely stunned as she looked towards the top whip. At the other end of the whip, a fair and slender little hand was holding it tightly. The force was so great that Tong Ziqing was actually unable to break free. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up into an enchanting smile. Her charming eyes were overflowing with color. The hand holding the soft whip suddenly moved. The top whip softened. A powerful force followed the whip and rushed towards Tong Ziqing with a momentum that could swallow mountains and rivers. Tong Ziqing didn't have time to let go and was struck in the chest by the profound energy. His entire body was sent flying. Coincidentally, the door of the hall was pushed open and a slender figure wearing a black robe walked in. When the surrounding students saw that person, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Tong Ziqing's body flew straight towards that person. The man's elegant brows furrowed slightly. At the same time, a blue figure darted out from behind that person. He leaped up and caught Tong Ziqing. The girl's melodious voice carried a hint of a smile. "Sister Ziqing, why are you in such a sorry state today?" That young lady was petite, but she used one arm to catch Tong Ziqing steadily. Tong Ziqing's face was steely green, as her pair of frosty eyes were filled with unwillingness. She clutched her chest as she struggled out from the young lady's embrace. "Freshmen, go to the training ground. Let's go again." Tong Ziqing berated in an unyielding tone. She didn't believe that she would actually lose to a freshman. Chapter 271. When Yiqing Luo heard Tong Ziqing's words, she squinted her eyes and said indifferently, "Essence grade also have spiritual qi, and after my profound qi, it has already caused a backlash. If you don't want to live, I don't mind continuing to fight with you at the training grounds." Essence grade and above weapons all had their own spiritual qi. Once the spiritual qi was invaded by a stronger aura, the weapon's spiritual qi would activate its self-protection mode. Earlier, Yiqing Luo injected her profound qi into Tong Ziqing's body through the whip. Naturally, it would cause a backlash. Tong Ziqing's internal injury was definitely not light. If she insisted on continuing the battle with her with injuries, her life would be in danger. Tong Ziqing naturally understood her own body's condition. That burst of tearing pain in her chest made her unable to concentrate on circulating the profound qi in her profound heart jade. She clasped her chest tightly as she stared coldly at Yiqing Luo. Tong Ziqing knew that what Yiqing Luo said was the truth, but to leave in front of the entire class. What face did she have to continue to stay here? Go back to recuperate. A clear and deep voice was heard from the door. That voice wasn't loud, but it was filled with a kind of dignity which no one could refute. The entire classroom immediately turned silent. "Yes, Sister Ziqing. Let Lulu take a look at you later." That blue-robed young lady gave a mischievous smile. "The future is long. After you have recuperated, then continue the battle with this new student. Isn't that better?" Hearing the young lady's words, Tong Ziqing's pupils suddenly expanded as she subconsciously looked towards the young man in front. The future is long. These 4 words meant that the class monitor had acknowledged the existence of this new student. That's right, the class monitor admired the strong most. This new student was indeed very strong. Tong Ziqing didn't say another word as she politely nodded towards the person standing at the door, and with the help of the other students, she left the classroom. Yiqing Luo then shifted her vision onto those few people who had just entered. There were a total of 4 people, 2 males and 2 females. Standing in front was a young man, estimated to be around 21 or 22 years old. He was dressed in a black long robe with purple embroidery. A head full of ink-black hair was tied up by a purple gold crown, looking extremely elegant. His entire body was encircled with an icy cold aura which kept people away. His handsome face was so handsome that it could suffocate a young girl's heart. What caught Yiqing Luo's attention the most was that pair of azure blue eyes. It was a pair of extremely pure blue eyes. They were clear and moist, and in the blink of an eye, they seemed to be suffused with waves of ripples. The monitor of Devil Class. Needless to guess, Yiqing Luo knew with one look that this person was the class monitor who was revered by the students in Devil Class. He didn't expect the class monitor to be so young. Yiqing Luo recognized the man and woman behind the class monitor. The youth behind the class monitor was Vice Class Monitor Qiaojin. As for that young lady, she was dressed in a pink long dress, and there were 2 pink furry balls hanging on her collar and sleeves. With such a cute personality, Wasn't she Yi Qing Luo's roommate? Mo Yuing? So, Mo Yuing was a student of the devil class. No wonder Shangwan Liuli angrily called her trash the moment she saw her. No wonder she had once said that there were no teachers in her class. However, Yi Qing Luo didn't believe that a person with that pair of cold eyes would be a waste. Moreover, for her to be able to stay by the class monitor's side, her status was clearly comparable to Qiao Jin's. It was enough to prove that Yi Qing Luo's intuition was right. As for the other blue-robed young lady, she was the young lady who had caught Tong Ziqing earlier. Chapter 272. How interesting. Within Yi Qing Luo's body, there seemed to be a pot of hot blood gradually boiling. She believed that in the near future, the growth in this devil class would absolutely be much more than the other classes. To have such a batch of weird characters, but their abilities were all above average. It would definitely be a huge help to her cultivation. Just enter the class and already injured 3 of our classmates. This new student's temper, isn't it a little too bad-tempered? Xiao Jin smiled as he leaned closer to Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo scoffed lightly. Since it's my first time here, I naturally have to send my generous gift. Xiao Jin laughed loudly as he tossed the gold coin darts in his palm. Your character is really similar to Class Monitor. No wonder Class Monitor would specially pay attention to you. The moment he said that, the surrounding students all turned their gazes towards Yi Qing Luo. Following that, they all dug their ears in unison, as though they had rehearsed this countless of times. What? Did they hear wrongly? Class Monitor would pay attention to a new student? Vice Class Monitor, she's the new student who said that devil class isn't waste, and we are all born with talent. The blue-robed young lady blinked her eyes as she quickly walked in front of Yi Qing Luo, staring at her with a pair of watery eyes. Seeing Xiao Jin nodding his head, the young lady's gaze flashed as she stared at Yi Qing Luo. What you said is right, although we are devil classes students, but whether we are waste or not, it's not up to them, but we ourselves have the final say. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as her gaze fell on a Xiao Jin. These words were what she said to Dong Huanglang at the freshman training grounds. Why? Did it spread to the devil class? She suddenly recalled that when she left the training grounds, she bumped into a young man whose looks weren't outstanding. It seemed. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes as she stared at Xiao Jin carefully for some time, raised her finger and pointed at him. It's you? Xiao Jin shrugged his shoulders as he gave a non-committal smile. It's because of your words. That moved Class Monitor. Mo Yuing tilted her head as her soft voice was calm. Those words, move Class Monitor? Sit. Without waiting for Yi Qing Luo to investigate further, Class Monitor's clear voice was heard. All the students, with lightning speed, swiftly returned to their own seats. Enai Ruo Pan held her injured arm as she slowly walked to the corner and stood there. In the entire classroom, only the Class Monitor and Yi Qing Luo were left standing. New student, feel free to find a place to sit. The class leader's thin lips moved, and the corner of his mouth curved into a faint smile. However, this smile did not reach his eyes. Instead, it caused his entire being to emit a sense of distance that made him feel unapproachable. Yi Qing Luo glanced sideways at Enai Ruo Pan, who was shivering in the corner of the wall. Out of all the students in the devil class, only Enai Ruo Pan seemed to be incompatible with the class, and he was even treated as trash by these students. Seeing how Enai Ruo Pan was initially afraid of Tong Ziqing, but for her sake, she stubbornly begged Tong Ziqing. Yi Qing Luo's heart softened a little. She was not a kind-hearted person, but she was not cold-blooded either. Good to her. She will remember in mind. Yi Qing Luo walked directly towards Enai Ruo Pan and pulled her wrist as she walked towards the empty space in front. Enai Ruo Pan's shoulders were pressed down forcefully by Yi Qing Luo as her buttocks stuck onto the wooden chair. Her entire body was shaking like a sieve. Her originally fair little face had now turned even paler. The surrounding students' expressions instantly turned ugly. New student, Sir Class Monitor asked you to sit, but it doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want. This is a punishment for the weak. She's the last place in the class, so she has no right to sit in class." Ruo Pan's entire body trembled as her eyes opened wide, as she was so scared that tears started to flow out. Chapter 273. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as her gaze was like a sharp blade. "I said to let her sit, so she can sit." Those students who were filled with dissatisfaction were swept by this gaze as their voices were instantly choked in their throats. This freshman was different from the previous freshman to be able to defeat their goddess Tong. Her ability was absolutely strong. Their gazes turned towards the class monitor, anticipating that the class monitor would teach the freshman a lesson to suppress her arrogance. However, the class monitor seemed as though he didn't see this happening, as he said calmly, "Today there's a freshman in the class, and her ability, I believe everyone has witnessed it for themselves." The students' gazes were filled with reverence as they stared at the class monitor. Because of this freshman has been specially approved to join the class committee. Everyone get along well, and as for the class rules, find some time to tell her. After the class monitor finished this sentence, he turned around and left the classroom. Before he left, his peripheral vision seemed to glance at Yiqing Luo. His azure blue eyes were flowing with shallow ripples, as though it contained a deep meaning which no one could understand. After a while, he retracted his vision and walked out of the classroom without turning back. The classroom's main door was slowly shut. A thud sound of the door jolted the students who were already in a daze. After some time, they regained their senses as they stared at Yiqing Luo in disbelief. Why is a freshman able to join the class committee? What's her relationship with Sir Class Monitor? Such an unreasonable freshman. Sir Class Monitor actually didn't get angry. The students started to point fingers at Yiqing Luo, guessing at her identity. No one doubted the class monitor's decision, but they were all doubting Yiqing Luo's identity, doubting if she had the right to stand beside the class monitor. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly. What the hell was the class committee? Why did everyone's gazes become so strange when they heard this news? Ruo Pan, who was still shivering by the side, heaved a sigh of relief until the class monitor left. The class monitor didn't stop her from sitting down, which meant that she could sit and listen to lessons in future. Thinking of this, Ruo Pan's heart calmed down. Seeing Yiqing Luo rubbing her chin with a look of deep thoughts, she pressed her chest and said softly, "The class committee is the group that manages this class. There are a total of 4 people." From Ruo Pan's mouth, Yiqing Luo found out. The young class monitor was called Long Yunjian. Other than coming to inspect the training results of the students every day, he was rarely seen at other times. Usually, it was the vice class monitor who loitered around the school and guided everyone. As for the class committee, it was the people who managed these students. Just like what Yiqing Luo had guessed, Xiao Jin and Mo Yuing were both members of the class committee. That blue-clothed young lady, just now, was called Yin Xiao Yi and was also a member of the class committee. The other person was Baiming Lu, the young master of the Miracle Doctor clan. In the usual training or group duels, even if they were beaten half to death, as long as they still had a breath left, Baiming Lu could use her magical medical skills to bring them back from the gates of hell. You've just arrived, and you're able to join the class committee. Class monitor must think highly of you. Ruo Pan looked at Yiqing Luo in adoration. She had not expected this freshman to be so powerful. Highly regarded? Yiqing Luo's squinted eyes reflected a piercingly cold glint. She didn't believe that Long Yunjian would entrust such an important task to her without understanding her at all. Rather than saying highly regarded, it should be said that he had another motive. Sister Ziqing had wanted to join the class committee for a long time, but her ability had never reached the class monitor's requirements. Chapter 274. This lass in this class was obviously bullied so badly, but she still spoke up for Long Yunjian. Apparently, she admired Long Yunjian a lot. The first time they met, Yiqing Luo wasn't able to understand Long Yunjian thoroughly. Her heart was filled with curiosity. What kind of charm did Long Yunjian have to be able to make this class, with all kinds of different characters, so obedient? Thinking back to when she was the Yi family's patriarch, she gave her all for the Yi family, giving up her normal life, but she still wasn't able to make everyone in the family submit to her. And Ruo Pan seemed to have seen through Yiqing Luo's thoughts. Her lips curled slightly. That pale and frail little face revealed a gentle and shy smile. This smile made the lines on her face softer. She was indeed a beauty. Although I was allocated to the Devil class 2 months ago, but I can feel that the class monitor is the salvation of the Devil class. Before the class monitor came to the Devil class was really a place where trash gathered. After entering the academy, those who performed badly in the entrance examinations and the freshman training were all thrown to the Devil class to fend for themselves. All the students in the academy can bully us, humiliate us, and if they are in a bad mood, they can vent their anger on us anytime. And Ruo Pan pursed her pale lips tightly. Both her hands, which were placed on her knees, clenched tightly into fists, as though she was recalling her past self. No one will stand up for us. To those outstanding students, trash like us shouldn't even live in this world. Later on, I came to the Devil class. Here, everyone had been treated as trash. All of them have been hurt before, but they're not any worse off than anyone else now. And Ruo Pan's eyes glowed with warmth. Filled with hope, I believe I will also become as incredible as them. Yiqing Luo's gaze swept past the surrounding students. From their aura, she could feel that these people were absolutely not trash. Like those 8 people at the entrance earlier, even if they wanted to enter the high profound class, it wasn't impossible. Not to mention Xiao Jin and Yin Xiao. Looked like Long Yunjian had a special way to guide these people who were once treated as trash. And these people were once bullied and had always been linked with the word trash. Once someone saved them, they would follow that person for the rest of their lives. Moreover, these people were used to the coldness and warmth of the world. If they were to become stronger, they would definitely be a force that could destroy the world. New student, there's one more important point, the most important sentence, you must remember it. And Ruo Pan suddenly thought of something as both of her hands grabbed onto Yiqing Luo's hands. Her little hands were very thin and weak, and her bones were small and cold. Yiqing Luo was stunned by this sudden action and almost flung Ruo Pan out. Rupan clenched her fists tightly, and her eyes were filled with seriousness. You must remember, everything that happens in the Devil class must not be divulged to the outside. This is the rule of the Devil class. Yiqing Luo nodded her head. She had long guessed this point. If it wasn't for this rule, the Devil class wouldn't have been able to remain mysterious for so many years. When these students walked out, each and every one of them had a high profound grade. Who would associate them with the Devil class? New student, take out your academy's wooden token and badge. I'll inject you into the class. Xiao Jin walked over and stretched out his hand towards Yiqing Luo. Chapter 275. Yiqing Luo took out the badge on her chest and passed it over. Xiao Jin picked up the wooden badge and swept it with his palm. That wooden badge shone brightly, and the surrounding students immediately crowded forward to take a look at Yiqing Luo's information. As Xiao Jin's fingers touched Yiqing Luo's academy badge, a golden light flashed and rows of golden characters appeared. Name, Yiqing Luo. Gender, female. Age, 15. Profound grade, yellow profound 9th grade class. Devil class identity, 3 Springs sex young matriarch. Yi family 7th miss. Yellow profound 9th grade? Yellow profound 9th grade? This freshman is only yellow profound 9th grade? The students who were nearer were all stunned when they saw the profound grade displayed on the wooden badge. When he said that, everyone stared at Yiqing Luo in disbelief. How could this be? How could she possibly be only at yellow profound grade? I thought she was at least above earth profound grade. She's so arrogant the moment she joined Devil class and was even valued by the class monitor. She's actually only at yellow profound grade. One must know that their goddess Tong's profound grade was at mystic profound ninth grade. She was just one step away from breaking through to earth profound grade. But she was defeated by a yellow profound ninth grade cultivator, and she was defeated so easily. How could this be possible? No one could believe that the overbearing and powerful Yiqing Luo was actually just a yellow profound cultivator. Devil class had a total of 60 students, and there were about 20 over yellow profound grade cultivators. But these 20 over students were mostly lacking the opportunity to break through. As long as they found that opportunity, they would be able to advance to mystic profound grade. These 20 over students were especially shocked. Same profound grade. How could this freshman actually defeat Tong Ziqing, who was one grade higher than herself? Xiao Jin narrowed his eyes as his fingers rubbed the wooden badge for a while. The profound grade had always been showing the words, Yellow Profound Ninth Grade. Yellow Profound Ninth Grade. Xiao Jin's gaze met with Mo Yuing, Yin Xiao Yi, and the others. Other than Mo Yuing, who was still expressionless, Xiao Jin and Yin Xiao Yi's eyes flashed with astonishment. Yiqing Luo? I've heard this name before. She's the 7th young mistress of the Yi family who was targeted by the faculty council 2 days after entering the hospital. I remember her. On the day of the ability assessment, she even rejected Master Gei Yu's request to take her as his disciple, saying that she was the Overlord's disciple. The student shifted his gaze from Yiqing Luo's profound grade to her name. At that moment, the class was in an uproar again. These students usually hid their badges in their classes, disguising their identities as Devil class students, and came and went freely in the academy. Naturally, he had heard of Yiqing Luo's name and heard some rumors about her. He didn't expect that this delicate and sweet-looking girl in front of him was actually that arrogant, egotistical, and infuriating freshman who had recently become famous in the academy. Yiqing Luo's expression remained calm, as though the person whom everyone was discussing wasn't her. The fact that she wasn't a yellow profound grade 9, but a mystic profound grade 4, naturally wouldn't be exposed. Hence, these students casually guessed that she had defeated Tong Ziqing with her yellow mystic 9th grade cultivation. In actual fact, if it was a one-on-one official competition, Yiqing Luo might not necessarily be able to gain the upper hand against Tong Ziqing. This time, she was merely relying on Tong Ziqing's arrogance and overconfidence. It was only when Tong Ziqing was defenseless that he managed to succeed. Tong Ziqing's profound rank was a solid foundation that she had consolidated. Chapter 276. Xiao Jin narrowed his eyes as he returned the wooden token and badge back to Yiqing Luo. Yellow profound 9th grade? This freshman really had the ability to change the profound grade on the Academy's wooden token. Even Long Yunjian wasn't able to change the profound grade on the Academy's wooden token. They could at most seal their own wooden tokens in the enchantment which Long Yunjian had set up. That enchantment could seal the updated data of their wooden tokens. In the Academy's elder quarters and teacher courtyard, all the students in the Devil class had their profound grades fixed at the profound grades when they first entered the Devil class. Of course, those people in the Academy usually couldn't be bothered to pay attention to the changes in Devil class's profound grade. He didn't say anything as he walked to the side of the table. That's all for today. Those who want to stay at the training grounds for training, go ahead. Those who want to return to the dormitory, report to the training grounds at 5 p.m. The students who were seated below the stage were used to it, as they responded with a loud yes. They then heard Xiao Jin continuing, "And I, Ruo Pan, the morning's training is not completed. Continue until it is completed." The students started to hiss as their gazes fell onto Ni Ruo Pan. Following that, they shifted their gazes onto Yiqing Luo. The ridicule in their eyes was obvious. Apparently, they often ridiculed Ni Ruo Pan in this way. Human nature was like this. In the past, these people made the surrounding people use this kind of gaze to treat them. Because of this, when they saw people who were weaker than themselves, they found a little bit of comfort in their hearts. Enrich Pan bit her lower lip as her eyelids drooped down as her pale little face surfaced two bundles of red. Her little hands held onto her skirt as she kept rubbing it. "All right, you can all disperse." Xiao Jin clapped his hands, and all the students instantly stood up. Yiqing Luo saw this and followed suit as she stood up. She heard the students speaking in unison. "Thank you all for your hard work. We will arrive at the training grounds punctually at 5 p.m. When Xiao Jin walked down from the side of the table, the classroom resumed its previous hustle and bustle. The students all dispersed as though they were liberated, and there were some who formed groups of 2s and 3s as they pointed at Yiqing Luo. Enrich Pan's hand were placed on the table. Her slender and fair wrists were so skinny that one could faintly see the white bones protruding out. The strands of hair by her cheeks covered half of her face. Yiqing Luo could still tell that her eyes were filled with tears. Still not leaving? Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. To be honest, she had never dealt with such a weak and crybaby before, and she did not like dealing with such a person. However, this little girl's kindness made it impossible for her to ignore her. Enrich turned her head away as she did not want Gu Shijio to see her crying. He tried his best to sound calm, but there was a hint of sobbing in his voice. "It's okay, I'll leave in a while. She wouldn't dare to walk in front of us. When there's no one left in the classroom, she'll leave." The student in the front row sneered, and Enrich lowered her head even more. The student spat disdainfully and left without looking back. "You're always the last one to leave the classroom? Wouldn't Enrich feel lonely facing such a spacious and quiet academy all by herself? Did he have to put himself in such a lowly position? Yiqing Luo had been walking on a high-class status since young, so she simply couldn't understand this kind of feeling. She frowned and pulled Enrich's wrist with a sullen face. "Let's go to the training ground." Yiqing Luo's strength was extremely strong, and Enrich couldn't struggle free at all. "Student Yi, no, I'll wait. I'll wait a while more." Enrich was forcefully pulled up as she pleaded in a hoarse voice. Chapter 277. Yiqing Luo's forehead was filled with black lines. Damn it! Why did it feel as though she was the one bullying Enrich Pan? "Student Yi, leave first. Don't bother about me. I'll be fine on my own." Enrich Pan sniffled, but her tears kept flowing down uncontrollably. She swung Yiqing Luo's hand, which was holding her, while the other hand wiped her tears. Yiqing Luo's brows creased even tighter. Those students who were intending to leave all stopped as they gathered around to watch the show. "Tell me first, why are you crying?" Yiqing Luo let go of Enrich Pan's wrist as she frowned as she asked. Enrich Pan suppressed her sobs as she wiped her tears fiercely. I'm not. I don't want to cry." "Can crying solve the problem? Will your cowardice make those people sympathize with you? Putting yourself in such a lowly position, will you be happy?" Yiqing Luo directly interrupted her sobbing words as she bombarded her with questions. Enrich Pan's hand, which was wiping her tears, paused as she looked at Yiqing Luo with teary eyes. No, you're not happy." Yiqing Luo replied to her own question, word by word. Following that, she gave a cold snort. "Even if you cry to death here, no one will feel heartache for you. Your cowardice will only allow others to step on your head unscrupulously, and in this way, you won't feel happy. I've said this before, no one is born a waste unless you position yourself as a waste. Then, what you told me previously, that you want to become as strong as Tong Ziqing, is all bullshit." Enrich Pan's eyes widened in embarrassment, especially when she heard Yiqing Luo actually set out her extravagant wish in front of all the students. She felt even more ashamed. She even felt that the surrounding students were ridiculing her for overestimating herself. "Look, you don't even dare to admit your own wish." Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly as her eyes were gradually masked with a layer of iciness. "If you continue like this, you can forget about becoming a strong person forever. Yiqing Luo had no interest to continue lecturing a hopeless ado. Life was chosen by oneself. If Nai Ruo Pan chose to live a waste life, then she had to pay the same price for her choice. The weak state of mind, no one could change it. Only she herself could walk out of it. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about Nai Ruo Pan and left the classroom directly. Behind him, he could hear the laughter of the students. He could vaguely hear Nai Rupan sobbing. Yiqing Luo didn't turn back. Accepting such ridicule was Nai Ruo Pan's own choice. There was nothing she could do. She had already repaid the kindness that Nai Rupan had shown to her. She still had to rely on herself for the rest of the journey. Yiqing Luo didn't stop as she followed the route she came from and left the devil class. Just as she reached the dormitory entrance, Yiqing Luo's nose twitched and smelled a familiar fragrance. There was someone in the dormitory? Mo Yuing and Lu Xiaoyu were both people who didn't like to use fragrances, and this smell, a figure flashed across his mind. Yiqing Luo immediately pushed open the door, and indeed in the living room, she saw a lady sitting on a soft chair drinking tea. The woman's cold face had a sinister smile in her eyes. Lu Xiaoyu? Lu Xiaoyu, who had just stepped into the dormitory's door, originally had a complacent smile on her face, but the minute she saw that woman, her expression changed immediately. Lu Xiaoyu rushed to Yiqing Luo's side. Qing Luo, why is she in our dormitory? The minute she saw Lu Xiaoyu, Lu Xiaoyu was extremely disgusted. As the vice president, she always abused her position for personal gain. Chapter 278. Lu Xiaoyu put down the teacup and stood up slowly. Her slender figure was exquisite and well-proportioned. Her cold eyes blinked a few times, her red lips curved deeper. Student Yi, Student Lu, I am your new roommate in future. Please take care. After the 3 words new roommate drilled into her ears, Lu Xiaoyu's expression froze on her face. New roommate. New. Room. Friend. Lu Xiaoyu was actually their new roommate? This. Could they still live happily in the future? You did it on purpose. Lu Xiaoyu was furious. What a joke. Lu Xiaoyu and Shangwan Luli were not on the same level. If Lu Xiaoyu was her new roommate, she would rather Shangwan Luli stay. At least, Shangwan Luli was easy to bully. This is the arrangement of the academy. Lu Xiaoyu said calmly. Her gaze swept past Yiqing Luo. After all, we are not considered strangers. Living together, it is good to interact. Bah, interact? I think you're simply. Lu Xiaoyu had not finished her words when Yiqing Luo grabbed her wrist. To be personally protected by the faculty council vice president and to prevent other students from harassing the dormitory, it is my honor. Yiqing Luo smiled indifferently. There was no trace of displeasure on her face. On the contrary, Lu Xiaoyu, after listening to Yiqing Luo's words, her face sunk. Yiqing Luo's words was obviously comparing her to a guard to protect Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes. Ever since Shangwan Luli was replaced, she had been quite curious about who the new roommate would be. But unfortunately, the new roommate was nowhere to be seen. Yiqing Luo had roughly guessed that this new roommate must be someone from the faculty council. But what she did not expect was that Lu Xiaoyu would personally move into the dormitory to monitor her at close range. This was indeed, since the establishment of the faculty council, Yiqing Luo was the only one to enjoy this special honor. Yiqing Luo concealed the deep meaning in her eyes and stared at Lu Xiaoyu. Noticing that the badge on Lu Xiaoyu's chest had already displayed an intermediate character, a gentle smile appeared on his face. Xiaoyu, how are you doing in intermediate profound class 2? Earlier when Lu Xiaoyu came back, her face was obviously happy. It could be seen that she was doing well on her first day in class. Thanks to these 2 days of training, I gritted my teeth and completed it with you. The headmaster praised me in front of all the students today. Lu Xiaoyu immediately ignored Lu Xiaoyu. She puffed out her chest and smiled proudly. After all, he was still a child. It was a great honor to be praised by the headmaster in front of all the students. It's good that the headmaster likes us. Remember, we are new students. If we can avoid stealing the limelight, we should try our best to avoid it. Lu Xiaoyu nodded vigorously and couldn't stop smiling. What excited me the most was Shangwan Liuli. She was reprimanded by the headmaster. After entering Intermediate Profound Class 2, Shangwan Liuli used her identity as Miss Shangwan to insult Lu Xiaoyu. Before Lu Xiaoyu could retaliate, the headmaster arrived. The rule of the academy was to respect the teachers. Naturally, these teachers had developed a lofty and arrogant personality. In this heavenly academy, no matter what identity you have outside, in their eyes, you are a student. Especially today, when the new students enter the class, the headmaster also had to punish the chicken to warn the monkey. He pointed at Shangwan Liuli and scolded her, and reprimanded her results in the ability assessment and the 2 days of training. In front of all the students, he directly questioned whether Shangwan Liuli was like Yi Qingling during the ability assessment, using other things to enhance her own strength. During the freshman training, her true colors were revealed. Chapter 279. Lu Xiaoyu had thought that since Shangwan Liuli had stuffed a lot of gifts into the teacher's hands, she would definitely be ostracized in the Intermediate Profound Class 2. He didn't expect the academy to be so noble. Yiqing Luo saw her delighted look as she laughed lightly. Lu Shuiyu, who had been ignored, saw that the two of them were having a good time and laughed happily. As for herself, after Yiqing Luo's counterattack, she was humiliated and returned to the faculty council, but was punished by Si Yin Mu and almost demoted. Lu Shuiyu's heart was burning with rage. Speaking of which, how is student Ye's taste in the devil class? Don't you think that place suits you very well? Lu Shuiyu sneered and said in a strange tone. The sharp and cold voice was extremely ear-piercing. Lu Xiaoyu furrowed her brows and glared at Lu Shuiyu in disgust. Why are you so annoying? The reason why Qing Luo would go to the devil class, you know it better than anyone else. I'm just a vice president. I can't interfere with the decisions of the Elder Council. Lu Shuiyu gave a light humph as her eyes were filled with ridicule towards Yiqing Luo. Isn't student Yi very powerful? Then go to the Elders Department and ask the Elder to change shifts for you. I'm sure student Yi has the ability to do so. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up into a faint smile as she casually swept a glance at Lu Shuiyu. I'm rather thankful to the Academy for allocating me to the devil class. That place is indeed suitable for me. If not for Lu Shuiyu, if not for Elder Yinxiang, she would not have barged into the mysterious devil class. Compared to the high profound class or the class of gods, she would rather stay in the crouching tigers and hidden dragons devil class. Yiqing Luo totally believed that in the future, the devil class would absolutely surpass the class of gods and become the most powerful class in the Heavenly Academy. Lu Shuiyu didn't seem to have expected that she wanted to use the devil class to ridicule Yiqing Luo, but Yiqing Luo totally didn't mind that she was allocated to the devil class. Originally, he thought that Yiqing Luo didn't resist going to the devil class, and even spouted out a lot of logic, but it was just to cover up the embarrassment and humiliation of going to the devil class. But at this moment, Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards, and that touch of confidence in her eyes. Her words were indeed from the bottom of her heart. Lu Shuiyu's cold and elegant face instantly turned ashen as she stared at Yiqing Luo's exquisite jade-like complexion. The vicious glint in her eyes became increasingly piercingly cold. She snorted coldly, flicked her sleeves, turned around, and walked towards her room. Ha ha ha, want to fight with Qing Luo in your next life. Lu Xiaoyu saw Lu Shuiyu leaving in anger and stuck out her tongue at her back view. Lu Xiaoyu didn't stop laughing until Lu Shuiyu's door was slammed shut. She held on to Yiqing Luo's arm. Are you really not going to ask the elders to switch to the high profound class? Even if it's the intermediate profound class, devil class, that place. It's good there. Yiqing Luo interrupted Lu Xiaoyu's words as her curly long lashes fluttered at an indifferent frequency. I will not mistreat myself and Teacher Gay, you will go and teach the devil class. So don't worry. Lu Xiao, you pursed her lips. I heard that Master Gay, you had applied to the elder quarters to be the master of devil class, but was rejected by Elder Yun Xiang. Elder Yun Xiang again? Why did she feel that this elder had been targeting her? But other than Elder Yun Xiang, the other elders probably wouldn't agree to it. Teacher Gue, you want to go to the devil class to be a master, but it was very difficult for him to pass the academy's hurdle. Yiqing Luo couldn't understand Teacher Gue Yu's status in the academy, but she was very clear that if Teacher Gue Yu were to teach the class of gods, it would be more than enough. Such a powerful figure. To let him teach the waste class, which even the academy had given up, wouldn't that be wasting God's gift? Chapter 280. Master Gay, you directly went to look for the director. I wonder what the outcome of the negotiation is. Lu Xiao, you told Yiqing Luo about the news that she had heard. Yiqing Luo recalled Gue Yu's gloomy expression when she mentioned the director. He obviously wasn't willing to meet the director. But in order to be a teacher in the devil class, he took the initiative to look for the director. A surge of warmth started to spread in her heart. Yiqing Luo's brows revealed a sliver of gentleness. I know. As soon as she finished speaking, her expression changed slightly, and a familiar smell seemed to seep into her nose. Her eyes flickered slightly as she smiled. All right, take a rest first. I'll treat you to dinner at the canteen tonight. Hearing about treating, Lu Xiaoyu's eyes shone brightly. Then it's decided. Sending Lu Xiaoyu back to her room with her eyes, Yiqing Luo then turned around and walked towards her own room. The minute she entered the room, that elegant sandalwood smell was even more intense. She saw a tall and slender figure lying on that big bed. His jet black long hair flowed down like smoke as it scattered on the mattress. His purple long robe was like a mysterious mandala flower blooming. His chest intentionally revealed a large portion of his chest muscles, adding an eye-catching demonic charm. On that handsome face, those sparkling peach blossom eyes squinted, faintly bringing out a sliver of electric current feeling. DMO Xian, why was he here? Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly stopped, as if a hand was pinching her heart. In her mind, the words she said this morning when they parted suddenly surfaced. DMO Xian, do you like me? The next time we meet, I'll be waiting for your answer. Her cheeks floated two bunches of red. Yiqing Luo thought that after this farewell, they would not meet for a long period of time. After all, that answer, DMO Xian, should not be able to answer her immediately. But that evening he came. Had he brought his answer? Yiqing Luo felt nervous for no reason. He just laid there, bewitching peach blossom eyes, smiling as he gazed at Yiqing Luo. She just stood at the door, staring at DMO Xian without blinking. That pair of eyes was like a deep pool, just one look and one would sink into it. Drip, drip. The sound of water dripping was especially clear in the silent room. When Yiqing Luo regained her senses, she heard the sound of water dripping. Looking in the direction of the voice, he saw a bamboo pole in the corner of the room. A greenish-white academy uniform hung from it, as well as a set of undergarments that were dripping wet. Instantly, Yiqing Luo felt as though she was in a mess. Damn it, was she dreaming? Or was there something wrong with his eyes? When did she wash her uniform and undergarments? She remembered that after she came back from training, she took a shower. She didn't have the time to wash her clothes, so she soaked them in the wooden bucket. How could it be washed clean and hung neatly? Yiqing Luo's mouth twitched a few times as she turned her head stiffly to look at DMO Xian. It's just that you. She could not ask any more questions. He really could not imagine the scene of the high and mighty Dizun rolling up his sleeves and washing his clothes. It was so beautiful that one could not bear to look at it. DMO Xian propped himself up as his brows rose slightly. His long and narrow eyes outlined a devilish arc. Why? Can't I help Lil Luo wash her clothes? It was indeed him. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened as it was filled with disbelief. Washing clothes was one thing, but even the undergarments, Chapter 281. You didn't sleep for the entire night and went through extra training early in the morning. You should be very tired. DMO Xian flipped over and got down from the bed, his purple robe fluttering in the wind, leaving behind a gorgeous shadow. That peerless face of his didn't reveal any unnaturalness at all, as though washing Yiqing Luo's clothes was an extremely normal thing to do. In just a few steps, DMO Xian had already stopped in front of Yiqing Luo. That whiff of sandalwood fragrance almost made Yiqing Luo intoxicated. Yiqing Luo's eyes sparkled as her heart pounded furiously. Because he was afraid that she was too tired, so he washed her clothes for her? Had he done such a thing before? Did his action of washing her clothes represent that he already had an answer in his heart? Her words were not able to complete. Yiqing Luo's body suddenly leaned forward as she fell into DMO Xian's arms. The next second, the man's arm wrapped around her waist tightly. Lil Luo, the question you asked me this morning, I've thought about it for a long time. DMO Xian's hoarse voice rang beside her ear. Long? Was this considered long? This concerned their future, even a lifetime's matter. Even if it was considered for a few days, or even a few months, it was very normal. DMO Xian's long arm tightened a little, his scorching breath almost stuck to Yiqing Luo's neck. After thinking about it, I still follow my initial thoughts. In love, he didn't know how to beat around the bush, nor did he need to beat around the bush. This kind of question dragged on for a long time, would only make the other party's imagination run wild. Lil Luo, I don't know what called love a person. DMO Xian squinted his peach blossom eyes, his voice bewitching, deep and husky, intoxicating one's heart. His 5 fingers grabbed Yiqing Luo's little hand, forcefully inserted into the gaps of her fingers, 10 fingers interlocked. Yiqing Luo's heart pounded violently as her breathing became hurried. DMO Xian's words, she indistinctly understood the meaning behind it. Her pink lips trembled, her voice was dry and slightly nervous. I also don't understand this kind of feeling. It was because he did not understand that when he faced DMO Xian, his heart that was beating wildly would reflexively accelerate. Because she didn't understand, after getting used to DMO Xian's hugs, touches, kisses, and even falling asleep beside him, that ambiguous feelings started to accumulate bit by bit. Yiqing Luo was not one to procrastinate. Even in the face of love, it was the same. She had lived 2 lives, but she had never experienced such a thing. She had spent her life in a storm of blood, fighting, and killing. But after all, she was a woman. Towards this mysterious and unfathomable man who was so strong that he could destroy the heavens and earth with a flick of his finger, there was no doubt that Yiqing Luo's heart was moved. So, what's your answer? Yiqing Luo looked up. The man's smooth jawline came into view. A hint of hesitation appeared on that peerless face of his. He furrowed his brows, feeling extremely uneasy. It was obvious that DMO Xian was nervous. Aware of this, Yiqing Luo's brows flowed with a shallow gentleness. Her pair of charming eyes were filled with smiling intent, as the lines of her beautiful face became even more bewitching and gentle. DMO Xian, give me your answer. She opened her mouth once again, as her enchanting eyes overflowed with some banter and ridicule. She stretched out her hand, as it circled around DMO Xian's neck, while the other hand's fingertip followed his brows, tracing his contours. DMO Xian's lips curled up slightly, as his pitch-black pupils reflected Yiqing Luo's face. She was charming and lovely. Her peerless beauty was unparalleled. It was all in his eyes, presenting the most beautiful picture. Chapter 282. Yiqing Luo's hair fell on DMO Xian's chest, entwining with him tightly. You asked me this morning if I like you. The man's voice was blurred between his teeth. He kissed her and released Yiqing Luo, giving her another light peck. Then he placed his head on Yiqing Luo's neck. The scorching breath, the thin lips brushed past Yiqing Luo's skin, causing her delicate body to tremble. I've been thinking about this question for the whole day, asking my heart repeatedly. DMO Xian's voice was languid, with a hint of nervousness. There's never been anyone who could lead my thoughts, who could linger in my heart. DMO Xian's lips curled up. His finger stroked Yiqing Luo's swollen pink lips. His finger, with a scorching temperature, ignited Yiqing Luo's lips. After I go back today, in my eyes, mind and heart, it will be filled with your figure. The whole day, DMO Xian thought about it for the whole day. His mind was filled with Yiqing Luo's figure. He even thought that if he didn't like Yiqing Luo would definitely keep a distance from him. By then, Yiqing Luo would throw herself into someone else's arms. Just a picture, DMO Xian's chest was filled with a raging fire. His heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys had a feeling of exploding. He absolutely would not allow a second man to appear by Yiqing Luo's side. This kind of thought, didn't it precisely prove his heart? I can't wait for a moment. After I realize this feeling, I can't wait to hold you in my arms. DMO Xian's face rubbed twice on Yiqing Luo's neck. If this wasn't love, DMO Xian could totally put this matter behind him after he and Yiqing Luo separated. But Yiqing Luo's question, and the answer that Yiqing Luo wanted, was replayed in his mind, word by word. There was no intention to stop at all. This was the first time in DMO Xian's life he couldn't control his own heart. This is your answer? Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips, both hands cupped his face. You don't regret it? The gap between them was too big. If they were together, they would definitely face a lot of disputes and obstructions in the future. I never regret what I do. DMO Xian's peerlessly handsome face stuck to her fair little hand. Especially towards you, I have no regrets. His large palm held onto Yiqing Luo's little hand as a pair of glistening eyes gazed deeply at Yiqing Luo. Moreover, you don't have the chance to regret. From the moment I asked that question, I have no intention of regretting it. Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly. Her eyes were filled with determination. We don't know much about each other, and we haven't spent a lot of time together. However, if we make this decision, we'll have plenty of time to get to know each other and walk in each other's worlds. DMO Xian's long and narrow brows narrowed slightly, outlining a devilish curve. His pitch-black pupils gazed deeply at Yiqing Luo. That delicate and lovely face was full of amorous feelings. That pair of eyes were filled with determination. It was as if one could feel boundless hope just by looking into them. The smile in DMO Xian's eyes deepened, and the lines on his face turned gentler. This was the woman he fancied. She was not pretentious at all. If he liked her, then he liked her. If he didn't like her, then he would cut it off immediately. Such a woman with such character. How could he not like her? How could he not love her? Lil Luo is handing over the rest of her life to me. Chapter 283. Yiqing Luo's body softened in DMO Xian's arms. Her cheeks were flushed and her eyes overflowed with a smile, enchanting like a flower. Since I chose to believe you and choose to be with you, I have also thought about the future. This kind of relationship, perhaps to Yiqing Luo, was a little too fast. But at least she took the initiative to take the first step for this relationship. Even if she really died in the future, she would not regret it. She and DMO Xian did not spend too much time together. But every time, DMO Xian was able to make her heart beat faster. DMO Xian's eyes were deep as his palm caressed her delicate face. You'd better think carefully. If you're entangled by me, you'll never be able to escape the love net that I've set for you in this lifetime. I will gladly endure hardship. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile. A pair of soft hands had already wrapped around DMO Xian's neck. Hooking him downwards, she took the initiative to offer her red lips. However, in the next second, Yiqing Luo was turned around. Her body suddenly fell backwards as DMO Xian's warm and rough kiss landed fiercely on her lips. The elegant sandalwood fragrance overflowed, almost making Yiqing Luo faint. Yi-Ching Luo's curly long eyelashes unnaturally fluttered, covered with a layer of hazy feeling. Her heart missed a few beats, throbbing incessantly. This kind of intimacy, this kind of kiss was not the first time she and DMO Xian had. But this time, it made Yi-Ching Luo's whole body go limp. Her eyes were like silk. Her mind was a blank, intoxicated in this kiss, unable to extricate herself. Was it because the relationship between them, from ambiguous, had become open and above board? The change of the state of mind, the feeling of the kiss was not the same. The two of them were intimate until it was nearing the time of the canteen's opening. DMO Xian then reluctantly loosened his arms around Yi-Ching Luo's delicate body, his face full of resentment. "Oh yes, DMO Xian, our relationship. Can we keep it a secret for now?" Yi-Ching Luo pondered for a moment and said, "I want to rely on my own strength to stand at the same height as you, side by side with you, to look at the prosperous times." Although she had confirmed the relationship with DMO Xian, but Yi-Ching Luo still hoped that her own cultivation path would still proceed according to her own plan. If she had DMO Xian's protection, she would indeed be able to lead a peaceful life without any worries. But in her bones, she was burning with the hot blood of an adventurer. Ordinary days did not suit her. What Yi-Ching Luo wanted was to have the taste of standing by DMO Xian's side one day, and not to blindly follow behind DMO Xian, protected by him. Good. DMO Xian's heart was deeply moved. Yi-Ching Luo saying these words was within his expectations. However, he was still deeply shaken. Since ancient times, no matter how high a woman's Xian rank was, or how talented she was in cultivation, after marriage, she would treat her husband as the sky, and be the woman behind her husband's family. And his little Luo heir had to stand by his side and walk side by side with him. DMO Xian, who was about to leave, abruptly turned back and stretched out his long arms, pulling Yi-Ching Luo into a tight embrace. "I believe that this day won't take long. I will wait for you." Yi-Ching Luo pushed him. "You should leave first. After all, this is the academy. If you were discovered by others, it would cause a commotion." DMO Xian pursed his thin lips. His fingertips brushed the long hair on Yi-Ching Luo's cheek to the side of her ear. "What did you forget to call me again?" Yi-Ching Luo's eyelids drooped slightly. "It's just a form of address. No need to be so serious." Chapter 284. Would she die if she didn't mention her underwear? Yi-Ching Luo blushed. This man didn't allow her to say anything and just washed her clothes. Forget about washing the uniform, a lady's personal belongings. He actually washed them too. She had yet to settle the score with him, and he dared to use this matter to block her? Yi-Ching Luo raised her fist and pounded on DMO Xian's chest, gritting her teeth as she gave a snort. "If you can't call my name, then call me husband." "Husband?" DMO Xian accurately caught Yi-Ching Luo's fist and placed it in front of his chest as his lips curled into a teasing arc dam. Simply too shameless. Yi-Ching Luo's eyes twitched as she heard Lu Xiaoyu's call from outside the door. She gritted her teeth and spat out two words. "Ah, Xian." Why did it feel that every time she called his name, she was being forced? These two words just spilled out from Yi-Ching Luo's pink lips. Her body, which was tightly wrapped in his warm embrace, suddenly felt light. In front of her, DMO Xian's figure had disappeared. She chased a few steps forward and walked to the half-open window as she stuck her head out. Outside the window, there were only a few female students walking by. She didn't see DMO Xian's tall and slender figure. Yi-Ching Luo retracted her gaze as both her hands rested on the windowsill as she looked down absent-mindedly. Her fair little hand slowly pressed down on her heart. Her heart was thumping. The frequency of its beating had not slowed down because of DMO Xian's departure. DMO Xian's sandalwood scent lingered in the air. What remained on her body was DMO Xian's scorching heat. Condensing her own palms, she could still vaguely feel the touch of DMO Xian holding her little hand. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but burst out laughing. She had been instilled with the concept not to fall in love with anyone since a long time ago. Her existence was to carry forward the Yi family, this hidden family, and to work hard to contribute to the country. She had no right to talk about love. She had never thought that there would be such a day, like a little girl, lost because of a man's departure. Qing Luo, are you asleep? Lu Xiaoyu called out from outside the door. Yiqing Luo suddenly regained her senses as her slender fingers clenched tightly. I'm here. She straightened her clothes, walked over quickly, and opened the door. Lu Xiaoyu stood at the door, and when she saw Yiqing Luo coming out, she heaved a sigh of relief. Just now, Student Mo told me that you've arranged to meet at 5 p.m., and it's almost 5 p.m. Mo Yuing? Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as she glanced at Mo Yuying's room door. The door was still tightly shut. Student Mo has already left. Lu Xiaoyu patted Yiqing Luo's shoulder. Today's meal is off. I'll treat you again next time. Regarding Mo Yuying's identity, everyone in the academy knew that she was a student of the devil class. Otherwise, Shangguan Liuli, who was a new student, wouldn't have changed her attitude the moment she saw Mo Yuing, and even tried to make a move on her. Lu Xiaoyu felt that now that Yiqing Luo had entered the devil class, she would be Mo Yuying's classmate. For Mo Yuing to meet Yiqing Luo, it was definitely because of devil classes matters. Yiqing Luo recalled that Xiao Jin mentioned that the devil classes students had to report to the training grounds at 5 p.m. Yiqing Luo nodded her head as she walked directly towards the devil class's direction. To Yiqing Luo, she was already a part of the devil class. Towards group activities, she tried her best not to be absent, so she wouldn't be absent. When she reached the devil class, she walked towards the bleak outer courtyard with ease. Just as she stood at the second door, Yiqing Luo's footsteps halted as her nostrils picked up a whiff of medicinal herb smell. Chapter 285. In the afternoon, when Yiqing Luo reported to the devil class, this door was smeared with an extremely light and refreshing herbal scent. At this moment, the smell of the medicine was a little pungent, so pungent that her head was aching faintly. She suddenly recalled that afternoon when she casually mentioned to change the suggestion of just smelling it. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched a few times. It was really accepted, but this smell was too obvious. Yiqing Luo covered her nose with one hand and held her feather fan with the other, intending to use her profound qi to push open the door, which was smeared with medicine. Clap, clap, clap. Suddenly, there were a few crisp claps in his ears. Someone's there? Yiqing Luo turned her head sharply. Behind her, a lady dressed in a lake green long dress was raising her hand and applauding. That lady's long dress was wrapped with the same color gauze waistband, and there were a few embroidered pouches hanging from it. Her dress was layered, and when she walked, she looked like a fluttering butterfly. The lady had a simple hair bun, and the jade hairpin made her look even more elegant and noble. I heard from the assistant class monitor that the new student in devil class knows how to refine medicine, and her ability isn't small. I thought he was bragging, but I didn't expect. You actually have some skills. The lady's clear voice was like pearls falling on a plate, extremely pleasant to the ears. As the lady walked closer, a pleasant herbal scent floated over. Yiqing Luo seemed to have thought of something as she retracted the vigilance in her eyes and laughed lightly. In front of the young matriarch of the divine doctor family, this little ability of mine is nothing. It's just that my nose is more sensitive than ordinary people. You know me? Hearing Yiqing Luo accurately state her identity, the lady revealed an astonished expression. You deal with medicinal herbs all year round, so there will be remnants of herbal scent on your body. Yiqing Luo pointed at her own nose. According to my understanding, the only person in devil class who deals with medicinal herbs is one of the members of the class committee, Bei Ming Lulu. Indeed, an outstanding sense of smell. Bei Ming Lulu's eyes revealed some probing. It's rare that there's an alchemist in devil class. If you're free, We could discuss it together. Yi-Ching Luo nodded. She was just a half-baked alchemist, while Baiming Lulu had been well-versed in medical books since childhood, and was also known as the young master genius doctor with a magical hand that could bring the dying back to life. In terms of alchemy, she had quite a high attainment. She could also take the opportunity to ask about how to refine the elixir to repair Ziling's legs. It's almost 5 p.m. You should go in first. Baiming Lulu took out a handkerchief and wiped the ointment on the door before pushing open the second courtyard door. There were already many students standing on the training ground. Some were warming up, while others were chatting at the side. It was very lively. The minute Yi-Ching Luo entered, there was a moment of silence on the training ground. But soon the students shifted their gazes, and the commotion resumed. Xiao Jin and Yin Xiao stood at one end of the training ground, and after seeing Yi-Ching Shan, Xiao Jin walked over. Yi-Ching Luo, you've just joined the class, and although you've joined the class committee, but for the students' training, you'll have to temporarily participate in it for a period of time. The class committee of the Devil class did not need to participate in the training together with the students. Their main task was to keep an eye on the students who were training and to correct the students' mistakes in training, as well as to guide them. But Yi-Ching Luo was a newcomer. Although she had defeated Dan Bai Shi and Tong Ziqing the moment she arrived, but the students in the class were still unconvinced of her. Chapter 286. Sure. Yi-Ching Luo agreed without any hesitation. She still needed more training to consolidate this body's foundation. Another round of training would absolutely be helpful to her. Xiao Ji nodded and returned to the training grounds, observing the other students. Yi-Ching Luo had no interest in interacting with the others. Those students were curious and afraid of Yi-Ching Luo, so under the situation where they didn't understand her, they naturally wouldn't initiate a conversation. Yi-Ching Luo was happy to be alone as she walked to a corner and waited for the training to start. Get up and continue. Waste, you're the most waste in the entire class. Don't drag us down. Before she could steady herself, she heard an ear-piercing mocking laughter. Get up quickly. Someone stretched out his leg to kick her. A lady's dull moan was heard, bearing with the pain and sobbing tone, not daring to make a sound. Yi-Ching Luo narrowed her eyes as she looked over. She saw 7 to 8 students forming a circle beside the weapons rack. There were 2 students who raised their legs, kicking the person who was surrounded. School violence, class violence was really everywhere. Ugh, don't hit me. I'll run right away, I'll run right away. The lady kept on sobbing, drawing in cold breaths in pain. This voice. Yi-Ching Luo's brows creased slightly as her gaze fixed on those students. Indeed, she saw that the lady who was surrounded by everyone was Enai Ruo Pan. She cut a sorry figure as her uniform was pulled into a mess, and her figure was so skinny that it seemed as though she wouldn't be able to stand steadily and fall onto the ground in the next second. Enai Ruo Pan climbed up and apparently saw Yi-Ching Luo. She went into a slight daze and immediately lowered her head, supporting her tottering body as she ran past her. Her steps were staggering as she ran step by step with great difficulty. She hadn't run for a few steps when she fell onto the ground again. Coincidentally, she fell right beside Yi-Ching Luo's feet. Enai Ruo Pan's eyes were red as she bit her lower lip tightly, not daring to look at Yi-Ching Luo. Whereas those 7-8 students, on seeing Enai Ruo Pan fall once again, all of them started to laugh as they walked over. I already said this waste can't run more than a few steps. Waste is waste. She can't even run 2 rounds of the training grounds. Why do you think this kind of trash is still in the Devil class? He's basically dragging down our collective standard. Yi-Ching Luo heard these people's malicious words and lowered her head to look at Enai Ruo Pan, whose head was hung low, sobbing softly but not daring to rebuke at all. Her heart felt a burst of vexation. She frowned and took a few steps to the side. The students gathered around Enai Rupan again and continuously ridiculed and insulted her. Yi-Ching Luo gazed at Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin and Yin Xiao, he didn't seem surprised at all, as if they were already used to the students' class violence towards an Rupin. No matter where it was, strength ruled, and the weak were prey to the strong. It was the same for the devil class. The students taunted and cursed excitedly. Some students even pulled out a metal rod from the weapons rack at the side. The student played with the iron rod in his hand and laughed. Get out of the way. This trash has no motivation without pressure. Watch me lead her to run 2 laps. The students roared with laughter and took a few steps back. Pan turned her head away in fear. Her eyes were filled with tears. No, I'll run. I'll run. Seeing how strenuous it is for you to run, I'll supervise you from the back. I'll absolutely let you run 2 laps easily. Ha ha ha. The student holding the iron rod laughed out loud. Chapter 287. The momentum of this strike wasn't ferocious. After all, they were classmates, and if he really killed Pan, Long Yinjian would absolutely not let him off. But if this strike landed on Pan, she would probably not be able to get up for several days. The crowd of students had an expression as though they were used to it as they crowded around to watch the show. Bam! A loud sound was heard. The person holding the iron rod was sent flying like a kite with a broken string before the rod could even land on him. They saw a slender figure standing beside Pan with a burst of profound wave beneath her feet. Apparently, she was the one who struck out and sent the student holding the metal rod flying. The few students who were crowding around revealed an unhappy expression. Student E, she doesn't need your good intentions. Why do you keep helping her? Towards Yi Qing Luo, the students didn't feel close to her, especially when they found out that she was only a yellow, profound 9th grade cultivator. They were filled with disdain. But after all, she was the class monitor's appointed committee member, so they couldn't be as obvious as how they treated Pan. Yi Qing Luo looked down at Pan, who was lying on the ground sobbing, as she couldn't conceal the impatience in between her brows. Get up. She didn't want to make a move. But looking at Pan's terrified expression, and recalling that afternoon, Pan was obviously afraid but still stubbornly stood out to speak up for her. She still made a move to save Pan. And the most important point was, she really couldn't stand this kind of fellow who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Pan curled up on the ground. Her face was filled with embarrassment and shame. If you know how to be embarrassed, then get up right now. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased tightly as she berated sternly. Here, acting pitiful. No one cares about you. Pan's eyes were filled with tears as she stared at Yi Qing Luo in disbelief, as though she couldn't understand what she meant by acting pitiful. Yi Qing Luo sneered. Yellow profound 6th grade is considered low? To be able to pass Heavenly Academy's entrance assessment is considered trash? Putting on a look of a weakling all day long, just dropping a few tears to gain sympathy? I'm telling you, this will only make these people look down on you even more, ridicule and humiliate you even more. His sonorous and forceful voice struck the hearts of the students one by one. That student who was flung away by Yi Qing Luo got up with the help of the other students, as his eyes were filled with astonishment. Didn't Yi Qing Luo want to help Pan? Why is he reprimanding Rupin now? Don't be so full of yourself. Rupin sobbed. She curled up her body and bit her lower lip. Even though you're only at the yellow mystic realm, you're so powerful. You're an expert, and you're also highly regarded by the class monitor. I don't have anything. You don't have the right to say that about me. Her delicate body trembled slightly, and tears welled up in her eyes. I'm not qualified. Yi Qing Luo sneered as her vision swept across the surrounding students. I'm sure everyone knows that I'm Three Springs Sect's young matriarch Yi Qing Luo. The students were stunned for a moment and suddenly understood the reason why Yi Qing Luo asked this question. Yes, how could Yi Qing Luo not be qualified? In the past 15 years, Yi Qing Luo was synonymous with waste. As a member of Three Springs Sect, other than possessing a heaven-defying profound jade heart, which was worthy of others' envy, She was a waste without any cultivation foundation. Especially after that, there were rumors that her profound jade heart had been dug out. She was more qualified than anyone else to say these words. Rua Pan also reacted, as her tightly biting lower lip loosened up slightly. That's right, Yiqing Luo was a waste for 15 years. But now, she was standing right in front of her and was regarded as a strong expert by herself. Chapter 288. I've never thought of myself as trash. That's why I can stand here and call myself your expert. When she mentioned the word strong, Yiqing Luo's tone was filled with ridicule. Soon after, her tone softened as she spoke in an indifferent tone. These people were once the trash that was ridiculed by others. They also shed tears as they begged those so-called experts to let them go. Do you think that if you cry, beg for mercy, show weakness, and humble yourself, they will let you go? Rupin shuddered. Her widened eyes were filled with an unusual emotion. She propped herself up as she knelt on the ground, as her mind kept reverberating with Yiqing Luo's words. Would it? I won't. These people had no sympathy for anyone. Even if she was on the verge of death, these people would still mock and humiliate her. Ever since she entered the devil class, she had always been alone. Because of this, when he saw Yiqing Luo, who was also a freshman coming to class, and saw Yiqing Luo being insulted by Tong Ziqing, he subconsciously didn't want the freshman to receive such treatment. Such days were too bitter and tiring. She couldn't take it anymore. Yiqing Luo calmly looked at Rua Pan, who was hugging her knees in silence, as her vision slowly shifted towards the surrounding, towards the group of students who were watching a good show. Her charming eyes were like a sharp blade. When her gaze swept past, it was as if a sharp blade had pierced into the flesh. Under that pair of eyes, the students, who were originally smiling playfully, all became serious. And you guys, Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Before you guys came to devil class, weren't you all trash as well? The expressions of the surrounding students changed. This was the past which they all wanted to bury, and now that Yiqing Luo had dug it out in the open, their gazes revealed an ominous glint as they stared at Yiqing Luo. In the past, you were also treated like how you treated an Rupin, right? Yiqing Luo directly ignored their gazes as her lips curled into a ridiculing arc. The feeling of being ridiculed, being looked down upon. You all understand it best, isn't it? The students clenched their fists, their faces as dark as charcoal. In the crowd, a student angrily retorted, "Let bygones be bygones. Now, we are not worse than anyone else. None of us are useless. No one can mock us." Exactly. That's all in the past. Now, no one can mock us. We don't need to understand that feeling. With one student taking the lead, the others immediately followed suit. With the help of the class monitor, they finally got rid of the title of trash and got rid of that miserable life. No one wanted to be reminded of their past downfall. The surrounding students were in a hubbub, but Yiqing Luo still maintained her cold smile. It was until those students who were filled with righteous indignation started to quiet down when Yiqing Luo started to laugh softly. Her eyes were enchanting, and her gaze was filled with disdain. Did you find comfort by mocking an Rupin? In that case, what's the difference between you and those who once mocked you? What right do you have to hate those who once mocked you? The surrounding students were stunned. Their faces that were originally filled with anger gradually turned into astonishment. That was right. What was the difference between them and those who had once humiliated them? When they saw how useless an Rupin was, they wanted to humiliate her. Did he really find comfort in this way? No, not all. Looking at Rupin's submissive look, not only was there no excitement in their hearts, they were even more infuriated. Chapter 289. This feeling, all of you know best. It's because you've all suffered such treatment. Shouldn't you be more united, giving her a little more heartache and concern? Help her? Seeing everyone's stunned and complicated expressions, Yiqing Luo slowed down her tone. But in her words, that awe-inspiring power still existed. Yiqing Luo was very clear about these people's mentality. These people had treated Ni Ruo Pan as their past self. The more they swallowed their anger, the more they hated themselves in the past, so the more ruthless they were towards Ni Ruo Pan. If she can't complete the training, you have many ways to let her complete it. Yiqing Luo continued. With your help, she completed the training. This redemption is not only for Ni Ruo Pan, but also for the past you. Well said. A clear voice was heard from the other end of the training ground. Long Yunjian was seen with his hands behind his back, strolling over. He was dressed in a blue long robe, which matched that pair of azure blue eyes perfectly. That handsome face was expressionless and indifferent. On the training ground, everyone shut their mouths because of Long Yunjian's arrival. Even their breathing became careful. Long Yunjian walked to the side of the training ground and stood beside Xiao Jin. His azure blue eyes gazed at Yiqing Luo without blinking. Class monitor. The students immediately lined up properly, bowing respectfully towards Long Yunjian. Ni Ruo Pan, who was sitting on the ground in a daze, also hurriedly stood up. She had been lying on the ground for too long, and with this sudden stand-up, Ni Ruo Pan's footsteps were unstable as she fell down again. Yiqing Luo supported her in time as she steadily caught her. Thank you. Ni Ruo Pan bit her lips as her eyelids drooped down. Knowing shame means that there's still hope. Yiqing Luo steadied her as she said calmly, these people were once looked down upon, low-leveled cultivators. They can abandon their past to become strong. Why can't you? Ni Ruo Pan's lips trembled as that pair of weak eyes suddenly became firm. Sorry, I know. She took a deep breath as she forcefully propped up her body, as she slowly moved Yiqing Luo's arm away. Even though her entire body was in pain and she couldn't stand properly, but she still clenched her teeth as she walked to the back of the team. This was the first step she decided to take. Yiqing Luo retracted her gaze and was about to join the line when she discovered that all the students' eyes were fixed on her. What the hell was going on? Why was everyone looking at her like that? Yiqing Luo frowned slightly as she realized that the reason why everyone was looking at her was because Long Yunjian stared at her, his gaze never shifting away. As though noticing that Yiqing Luo had flown into a rage out of embarrassment, Long Yunjian shifted his vision away. Long Yunjian didn't look at Yiqing Luo, and the other students naturally followed his line of sight. When they looked at Long Yunjian, their eyes revealed unconcealable admiration. Student Ye's words are very well said. Long Yunjian's expression was calm, but circles of ripples appeared in his azure blue eyes. This is also the idea that I have been instilling in everyone. Here, no one is trash. Even if you're allocated to the devil class, as long as you cooperate with my training and put in the hard work, you will absolutely not be any worse than now. Saying that, Long Yunjian's indifferent gaze fell onto Ni Ruo Pan. I've understood student Ni's situation, and because of that, my expectations aren't high. Every morning, afternoon, and night, circle the training grounds twice. Just like what student Yi said, if student Ni can't complete it, then you should think of ways to help her. If student Ni is able to complete it, then compared to you using bullying methods to coerce her, force her, it should be much happier. Chapter 290. Could it be because of Yiqing Luo? If it was unusual days, the class monitor wouldn't even come to the training grounds, not to mention coming to the devil class twice in one day. And it was rare to see the class monitor echoing the other students' words. Even for Xiao Jin and the others, the class monitor might not give them any face. Damn, what was the relationship between the class monitor and this freshman? The hearts of the students began to stir. Their minds had already started to fill in the things that had to be said between the freshman and the class monitor. All right, it's not early anymore. Let's get down to business. Xiao Jin clapped his hands, indicating for the students to place their attention on him. The students immediately puffed out their chests and stood perfectly straight. I heard that half a month later, the two classes in the High Profound class will be having a class competition, and the location is set at the Heavenly Training Forest behind the academy. While Xiao Jin was speaking, the gold coin darts in his hands were thrown into the air from time to time. Drawing an arc, Yi Qing Luo had some impression of the Heavenly Training Forest. She had seen the introduction of the Heavenly Training Forest in the handbook that was specially built by the academy for the students to undergo actual combat training. It had the same effect as the Magic Beast Forest. According to the level of training, it was divided into Low Profound Zone, Intermediate Profound Zone, High Profound Zone, and God Zone. Every month, the academy would arrange for each class to enter the training forest to undergo actual combat training. At the end, the students with the best performance would be awarded as a form of commendation. Of course, this kind of training forest would never belong to the devil class. Hearing Xiao Jin mention about the training forest, Yi Qing Luo's interest was piqued. That day, all the students will also enter the Heavenly Training Forest to undergo training. Xiao Jin's gaze suddenly turned cold. So, are you all prepared? The students' eyes suddenly lit up, revealing an excited expression. Ready. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows in interest, looking at the excited faces of the students, rubbing their palms together. Obviously, it wasn't the first time the Devil classes students had followed the students from other classes to enter the Heavenly Training Forest for training. According to the handbook's records, the class had to go through the elders to enter the Heavenly Training Forest. The entrance was guarded by the elders. How could the Devil classes students sneak in? Are you in high spirits? Very good. The corners of Xiao Jin's mouth curled upwards. Although his face was unremarkable, it possessed a different kind of charm. Everyone, start training. Line up and start running. Let's strive to obtain an outstanding result after entering the training forest. Just as Xiao Jin finished speaking, the students who were lined up neatly in 4 rows quickly lined up and started jogging one after another. His movements were precise and consistent, as if he had practiced this countless times. Yi Qing Luo saw this and couldn't help but sigh silently. This tacit understanding was simply godly. More than 50 people surrounded the training ground and started jogging. Yi Qing Luo followed closely behind, running along. Having just entered these students, Yi Qing Luo wasn't aware of their rhythm. Although it seemed a little rushed, but it didn't disrupt these students' rhythm. It was merely half an incense's time, and Yi Qing Luo had already grasped the students' running frequency, keeping up with their progress. And Ai Rupin was exhausted from running earlier, and she was injured by the students, so it was extremely tiring for her to run. In less than half a round, and Ai Rupin was already behind the students. But this time round, and Ai Rupin wasn't like before, lying on the ground weakly after falling down. She clenched her teeth tightly as she climbed up and followed behind the students, running step by step. Chapter 291. Yi Qing Luo was right. These students were once the same as her, a group that was labeled as waste. But hadn't these students walked out from the past? Now, in front of those who had labeled them as waste, they could be called strong. If these students could do it, why couldn't she? Her wish was to become a powerful cultivator like Tong Ziqing. If she didn't put in any effort, how could she achieve her wish? The students took big strides, running round after round. At the front of the training ground, Yin Xiao Yi's sweet voice rang out leisurely. The students who came to the Devil class doesn't mean that you are all waste. To be able to pass the Heavenly Academy's assessment, you are much stronger than ordinary people. To be able to pass the Devil class's welcome ceremony, you are also very powerful. Her voice was clearly very soft, but it was filled with a convincing force. As long as you cooperate with the class monitor's training, I guarantee the Devil class's students will be more powerful than the High Profound class, or even the class of gods. Let me tell you another inspiring news. Yin Xiao Yi's gaze swept past the students one by one. The top 3 students with outstanding performance in the Heavenly Training Forest will be rewarded with a bottle of profound chi pill developed by Lulu. The students who were running, immediately started breathing erratically, and a series of gasps sounded. Yiqing Luo frowned in puzzlement. Profound Qi pill? She had never seen this kind of pill in the Hunter Medicine's pill refining. The student beside her saw her puzzled expression, or maybe he was Bei Ming Lu's diehard fan. Opened his mouth to explain. This profound Qi pill is a profound Qi pill developed by Bei Ming goddess. After taking one, your meridians will be unobstructed, reaching the best state of cultivation. Yiqing Luo heard this, and her eyes immediately lit up. If during cultivation, to keep the meridians unobstructed and the body free of impurities, it was indeed the best cultivation state. Cultivating in this state for one day was equivalent to 5 days of normal cultivation. It could achieve twice the result with half the effort. No wonder these students were so surprised. Unfortunately, the profound Qi pill can only maintain the effect for 1 hour. That student sighed helplessly, but there are 10 profound Qi pills in a bottle. If the state of mind is right, perhaps it can break through the profound grade. Yiqing Luo nodded thoughtfully. On the other side, Yin Xiao Yi saw the looks of astonishment and desire on the faces of the students, and her lips curled into a smile. Do you have the confidence to get into the top 3? Yes. Do you want to achieve outstanding results in the training forest? Yes. One after another, the impassioned words were deafening. Long Yunzhan's indifferent azure eyes were faintly tainted with a trace of a faintly discernible smile. He stared at Yiqing Luo, gazing deeply at her without blinking. Xiao Jin stood at the side and saw everything clearly. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. What kind of ability did this Yiqing Luo have? The class monitor, who had always been pure in heart and few in desires, actually fell under her skirt. Although Yiqing Luo's looks were indeed not bad, and could even be described as stunning. But the class leader doesn't seem like someone who would lust after beauty. Xiao Jin stroked his chin with a thoughtful expression. What are you looking at? Long Yunzhan turned his head slightly, as his brows creased slightly. Xiao Jin grinned, as he gave an ambiguous smile. Class monitor, be honest, have you taken a fancy to that new student? Long Yunzhan's expression was grave, as his gaze drifted towards Xiao Jin. Chapter 292. Long Yunzhan's gaze was serene, as though he could see through Yiqing Luo. After some time, he pursed his thin lips tightly, and his voice was extremely soft, but it was heard clearly. There's a strange feeling on her, as though there's something calling out to me. From the first time he met Yiqing Luo, Long Yunzhan had this feeling. In Long Yunzhan's eyes, beauty and ugliness were merely skin. Yiqing Luo's looks was not the reason why he was attracted, but her body was emitting a scent which others couldn't smell, as well as the feeling of calling out to him. Only Long Yunzhan himself couldn't tell what kind of strange feeling that was. When Xiao Jin heard that, he was dumbstruck. You. However, Long Yunzhan didn't listen to Xiao Jin's words as he gazed deeply at Yiqing Luo, turned around, and headed back the way he came from. In a blink of an eye, his figure disappeared. Hey, what did you say to class monitor? This is the first time I've seen class monitor being so concerned about a new student. Yin Xiao Yi saw Long Yunzhan leaving, and her gossipy thoughts started to ignite. Xiao Jin's lips twitched as he recalled what Long Yunzhan said, and clapped his hands fiercely. Finished. Class monitor seems to have really fallen in love. Strange feeling? Calling out to him to pay attention to Yiqing Luo? Wasn't this just like liking? Yin Xiaoyi's face was filled with shock. She was just casually asking, casually guessing, and casually making a joke. Just like that. Became real? The moment Long Yunzhan left, Yiqing Luo heaved a heavy sigh of relief. Her senses were so sharp. How could she not feel that Long Yunzhan had been staring at her? Long Yunzhan's gaze was very strange. Yiqing Luo naturally wouldn't be narcissistic to think that Long Yunzhan had fallen in love with her at first sight. But that gaze, what meaning did it represent? Yiqing Luo had no way of knowing. She had to admit, as Devil Class Monitor, Long Yunjan's imposing manner indeed resembled a leader. To be able to train these students who were once labeled as trash to this standard, he had the right to be respected. Ayo, ayo, ayo. Chi-Chi's head rubbed against Yi Qing Luo's face. It curled into a furry ball, nestling firmly on Yi Qing Luo's shoulder, as it stuck out its tongue to lick her face. Chi-Chi rarely appeared when there were many people around. Yi Qing Luo looked at Chi-Chi doubtfully. Oh, Chi-Chi let out a low growl, its black tiger eyes staring in the direction that Long Yunjan had left, and it let out another low growl. Yi Qing Luo's eyes sunk slightly as she maintained a uniform pace to keep up with the student's rhythm, while rubbing Chi-Chi's head as she suppressed her voice. You want to get close to Long Yunjan? Chi-Chi nodded her head and responded in a low voice. Chi-Chi was interested in Long Yunjan. After all, Chi-Chi had been by her side for such a long time. Other than sleeping, she had never seen it interested in anything or anyone. She then thought of the way Long Yunjan had looked at her just now. It seemed like there was a need to meet Long Yunjan in private. 10 laps. In less than the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, all the students had finished running. Enrich Ruo Pan also persisted in running 2 laps and was currently running the 3rd lap. Her head was filled with perspiration and her legs were heavy as she ran. But she clenched her teeth and persisted in moving forward. At this moment, these students didn't act like usual. After running 10 laps, they discovered that Enrich Ruo Pan hadn't finished running 2 laps and instead lagged behind, so they went up to ridicule her. Perhaps Yi Qing Luo's words earlier had infected them. Chapter 293. Come on, you can definitely finish the 3rd round. Right? Adjust your breathing and follow my rhythm. Let's run together. Enrich Ruo Pan originally ran until she was completely exhausted. Her entire body was so heavy as though it was going to collapse anytime, but she kept hearing the encouragement from her classmates. This was something she had never experienced before. Those words of encouragement were like a warm spring that flowed through her heart, as though something was about to burst out of her body. In the midst of perspiration, Enrich Ruo Pan saw 2 students running behind her. Following that, more and more students followed. In the end, even Xiao Jin and Yin Xiao Yi were following behind her, maintaining the same speed as her. The more tired she was, the more touched she felt. The more touched she was, the more she had to clench her teeth and run forward. In front of her, she couldn't see anything else. The encouragement and cheering from her classmates echoed in her mind over and over again. The heat that lingered in his body surged through his limbs and bones, wave after wave. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes as she stared at Enrich Ruo Pan, who was being encouraged by the group of students. Her gaze seemed muddy, but it revealed a resolute look. Her footsteps were heavy and slow, but she still stubbornly moved forward. Yi Qing Luo's eyes rose slightly as her long and narrow eyes outlined a demonic arc. She crossed her arms as she looked at the resolute Enrich Ruo Pan, and her eyes were gradually filled with warmth. You're really an extraordinary person. Behind her, a voice as still as water was heard. Following that, a crisp bell rang, and Mo Yuing had already appeared behind Yi Qing Luo. She's been here for 2 months, and our 100 sentences are not as good as your 1 sentence. Mo Yuying's gaze was cold as she glanced at Enrich Ruo Pan. You're indeed filled with hope. Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly. It's not that I'm filled with hope, nor is it because I'm an extraordinary person. It's just that you didn't use the right method. These people had all walked out from the waste. Under Long Yunjan's training, they had today's achievements. But deep in their hearts, they were still unable to forget the humiliation of being waste. Perhaps those with backbone and unyielding character would try their best to cooperate with Long Yunjan's training in order to slap their faces. But Enrich Ruo Pan was different. She had decided from the bottom of her heart that she was a good-for-nothing. Actually, Enrich Rupan isn't weak. It's just that she feels too inferior. As long as Enrich Rupan's inferiority complex and resistance toward cultivation were removed, she would definitely be able to blend in with the class. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as her lips curled into an extremely shallow arc. The current Ni Ruo Pan only needs to persevere on, and she will definitely be able to see hope. Mo Yueying's expressionless face slowly shifted towards Ni Rupen. When he looked at Ni Rupen's expression, a dark light flashed in his calm eyes. Ni Rupen's breathing became smoother as she ran, and even her heavy legs seemed to have become lighter. As she ran, she enjoyed the cool breeze blowing on her cheeks. A ball of heat rose from his chest to his heart and head. All of a sudden, a powerful stream of air shot out from his body. Boom! A deafening sound was heard as Ni Rupen stopped abruptly. At the same time, an intimidating voice rang out. Everyone, retreat quickly. The students were usually used to hearing this command in the training grounds. When this voice rang, their bodies instinctively retreated backwards. They had just retreated a few steps when they saw Ni Rupen's entire body emitting numerous yellow lights, densely bursting out. Chapter 294. Advance. Ni Ruo Pan advanced. All the students who had retreated looked in disbelief at Ni Ruo Pan, who was wrapped in the profound light. This was the sign of advancement. It can't be. She can advance just by running. Doesn't need to be so simple. The student's tone was filled with envy and jealousy. I run 10 laps every morning, noon and night. Why didn't I advance? Not fair, not fair. The students were seething. This was the first time they saw such a way of advancement. You knew about it long ago? Mo Yuing looked at the smiling Yiqing Luo and recalled that she had dismissed a bunch of students who were surrounding Ni Ruo Pan in time. If she hadn't known that Ni Ruo Pan would advance, why would Yiqing Luo open her mouth in time? If it wasn't for Yiqing Luo's warning, the students who were surrounding Ni Ruo Pan would probably be sent flying by the self-protection layer formed when Ni Ruo Pan was advancing. Light injuries would be to the bones, heavy injuries would be to the internal organs. It was very likely that it would affect the actual combat training in the Heavenly Training Forest half a month later. Yiqing Luo shook her head. Her eyes were glistening. I just found out that to advance to the profound grade, not only one's own strength and profound chi have reached the standard, but also an opportunity. Ni Ruo Pan's profound grade was yellow profound 6th grade. The only thing she lacked was her state of mind. This time, with Yiqing Luo's guidance, her state of mind had undergone an earth-shattering change, so naturally she would advance. Earlier, Yiqing Luo also saw Ni Ruo Pan running, that increasingly light footsteps, and Ni Ruo Pan's slightly raised lips, so she deduced it. Mo Yuing nodded thoughtfully. The gaze she gave Yiqing Luo had added some deeper meaning. Ni Ruo Pan was enveloped in a yellow light. Her chi surged and suddenly exploded. The scorching heat seemed to be burning her entire body. The heat surging crazily in his chest came wave after wave. Ah! A low cry came from Ni Ruo Pan's mouth. She clenched her fists and straightened her chest. The yellow light that enveloped her turned into numerous light rays, crackling as it shot out. The light dissipated, and Ni Ruo Pan slowly opened her eyes. She stared at her own hands, her own feet, her current body. The feeling was totally different from when she was running with all her might. Her body was light as a feather. Both her legs were light and powerful. His breathing was smooth, and he felt a sense of satisfaction. Classmate Yi, thank you, thank you. Ni Ruo Pan quickly realized that she had advanced. And the source of this advancement was Yiqing Luo. If it wasn't for Yiqing Luo's reminder, she would probably carry on living with a cowardly mentality, living on with inferiority for the rest of her life. The changes that had taken place in his body were simply incredible. Ni Ruo Pan was so agitated that her eyes turned red as she hurriedly walked towards Yiqing Luo and held her wrist. I did it. I finished 2 laps and even advanced. Hold back your tears. Yiqing Luo lightly curled her lips. Since you've decided to take this step, then don't shed a single tear. Crying is the behavior of the weak. And Rupin's eyes reddened. She tried her best to hold back her tears and nodded vigorously. Nothing in the world is impossible for those who set their minds to it. Yiqing Luo withdrew her hand. There are many things, if you do it, you might not necessarily succeed, but if you don't do it, then you will definitely not succeed. The road is walked by yourself. Everything depends on you. And Ruo Pan nodded her head as she stared at Yiqing Luo with adoration, as though she had already treated Yiqing Luo as her idol. We're the ones who have been forgotten. The readers. Looks like too many people have been forgotten by Elder and Mo. Elder and Mo leaned back and shook his legs sloppily. If I want to show my face and be on camera, I have to pay something. For example, a bribe or something. All the characters fluttered towards Elder and Mo. Me. Bribe. I pay. At this moment, a strong gust of wind blew. A powerful pressure immediately spread out in the hall. In the air, there seemed to be banging sounds. A purple figure descended from the sky. Everyone exclaimed, "Your Majesty, Your Majesty!" DMO Shin's noble and elegant gaze swept across the group of people. Get lost. Everyone was stunned. They wanted to be promoted, but they wanted to live even more. They shrank to the side. Elder Mo, who was shaking his legs, froze on the soft couch. At this moment, his legs were no longer shaking, and he was no longer smiling. He was going to be dumbfounded. Motherf asterisk Kerr. The DMO Shin's aura was too strong. This author packed his bags and was ready to run away. Before he could take a few steps, the DMO Shin's golden ratio body blocked in front of him. Elder Mo's whole body trembled and the smile on his face froze. He saw the DMO Shin's finger move, slowly. Mamma mia! Is this because this author flirted with his wife, and he wants to kill this author? Just as Elder Mo was about to beg for mercy, he saw the DMO Shin holding out a cake. The DMO Shin, Elder Mo. Happy birthday. On this grand day, please give me more opportunities to get close to the female lead. Everyone, Elder Mo. Immediately, Elder Mo raised his head firmly and put on an unyielding expression. Do you think you can make me surrender with force? The DMO Shin. 100 book coins for a hug. 500 book coins for a kiss. Elder Mo deal. Deal. Readers, damn it, where's my integrity? Thank you, babies, for sending birthday blessings on Elder Mo's birthday. Every blessing warmed Elder Mo's heart. Elder Mo has never regretted entering the writing industry because I know that I am not the only one fighting. Thank you sincerely. Because the author has something to say recently, for some unknown reason, it has been swallowed by the system. Many words are not displayed on the phone. Let me borrow this opportunity to say a few words. Thank you. Ning Mo Yixin, lifetime bound. Helpless He Jiao, Hetianxia, for specially sending gifts on Elder Mo's birthday. Thank you. Meow. Lulu, for sending gifts and blessings. P.S. The post-grabbing activity has already begun. Just reply to the book comments at the top. And wish Elder Mo well, or express your opinion about one. There's a chance of winning a prize and a QQ red packet. Chapter 296. What feeling was that? The students' smiling expressions slowly froze on their faces. The noisy training grounds fell into a strange silence. They were all in deep thoughts. Xiao Jin didn't urge them as he silently played with the gold coin darts in his hands, as he waited for their reply in a composed manner. Only occasionally, his gaze would drift towards Yiqing Luo's direction. After some time, one of the students raised his arm. I'm very happy. Xiao Jin smiled, indicating for him to continue. Seeing student I not only completed 2 rounds, but also ran an extra round and even advanced, I'm very excited and very happy. This kind of feeling was unable to be expressed in words. It was as if they had seen themselves in the past, trying their best to shake off the name of waste. Seeing Ni Ruo Pan's advancement was like seeing themselves advancing. That kind of excitement, gratification and indescribable feeling burned their nerves. This was indeed much better than them constantly bullying Ni Ruo Pan, finding balance and comfort from her. Especially when they heard Xiao Jin say that Ni Ruo Pan's advancement had an inseparable relationship with them. Their hearts became even more agitated. Now, their inner hearts were filled with fulfillment. When one of them opened his mouth, the other students started nodding their heads in agreement. At this moment, the students' gazes towards Yi Qing Luo no longer had the unwillingness and unwillingness from before. They were sincerely grateful to Yi Qing Luo for enlightening them. This new student indeed had enough ability to become a member of the class committee. With just a few words, you've subdued a bunch of stubborn students' hearts. How do you feel? Xiao Jin laughed lightly as he leaned his head over, as his brows rose in ridicule. Yi Qing Luo shook her head as she remained calm. I've said this before, right from the start, you guys didn't use the right method. Why do you say that? Xiao Jin asked curiously. One must know that Long Yunjian was based on every student's characteristics, transforming them step by step, which resulted in today's devil class. Yi Qing Luo actually said that they didn't use the right method right from the start. Yi Qing Luo's eyes squinted as her curly long lashes cast an extremely shallow arc shadow at the corner of her eyes. In your mindset, only the strong can survive, and you also think that it's a matter of course for these students to bully Ni Ruo Pan, but you haven't thoroughly understood these students' inner hearts. In Devil class, perhaps these students were once waste, so they were abandoned and thrown into Devil class. However, Long Yunjian and the others weren't trash. As the saying goes, dragons give birth to dragons, and phoenixes give birth to phoenixes. Their temperament determined that they were not ordinary people. You don't understand the reason why the students bullied an Irupin. You also think that as a weakling, an Irupin should accept such treatment. With such a mindset, you naturally won't be able to open an Irupin's heart. When Xiao Jin heard this, a look of astonishment appeared on his face. How did you know? This freshman was too terrifying. It was only his first day in class, and he had already analyzed the temperaments of these students so thoroughly. Intuition. Yi Qing Luo smiled mysteriously, her eyes curved, revealing a bit of craftiness. Apparently, Yi Qing Luo had no intention to continue answering their questions. Xiao Jin rubbed his nose. Anyway, there was still a long way to go, and by then he would be able to dig out the answer that he wanted to know from Yi Qing Luo's mouth. Come. In order to celebrate student and I successfully advancing to the yellow, Xian's 7th grade, and taking the first step toward becoming a strong expert, let's add another 5 rounds. At that moment, the students who had smiles on their faces and had excited expressions on their faces complained to the heavens. What kind of celebration was this? It was simply torture, although they were grumbling incessantly, but all of them still obeyed the orders and lined up properly, running around the training grounds once again. Chapter 297. The Devil class's training was not as simple as the 2 instructors' freshman training. Especially in preparation for the actual combat training in the Heavenly Training Forest half a month later, Xiao Jin had been torturing everyone. For the next few days, Yi Qing Luo had to report to the freshman training grounds early in the morning to accept the 2 instructors' daily torture. By the time she returned to the dormitory from the freshman training grounds, it was already 5 in the afternoon. She would must take a bath, nap for 1 hour, sleep for at most 2 hours before she was woken up by Chi and rushed to join the Devil class's training. Although her body was exhausted, but after these few days of training, this body's quality was getting better and better. In time, it would definitely consolidate this body's quality to the strongest foundation. But in these few days, something had happened which made Yi Qing Luo extremely painful, but she slowly accepted it in the midst of the pain. That was, when Yi Qing Luo's body was exhausted and fell onto the bed, she felt for the medicine bottle under the pillow. That mysterious Mr. Chu sent over some medicinal pills which could relieve her body's fatigue. But this touch, she touched empty air. Could it be that someone had entered her room? That's not right. If someone else had entered her room, there would definitely be some clues left behind. Yiqing Luo had formed a habit in her past life. She remembered clearly the location of everything in her territory. If someone touched it slightly or moved it by a little, she would be able to detect it sharply. When she was lying on the bed, she didn't notice any traces of the bedding and pillow being moved. If no one entered, then who took away her medicine bottle? Just as Yiqing Luo was frowning in deep thoughts, a slight sound came from the half-opened window. The room was instantly filled with an elegant sandalwood fragrance. The man's mellow and intoxicating voice rang out leisurely. Is Lil Luo looking for these two things? Yiqing Luo suddenly sat up straight and saw a tall and straight figure standing by the window. He was dressed in a demonic purple robe. The sleeves were wrapped with golden threads, flowing with flowing light as it swayed. It was indescribable. He had a head of cloud-like black hair that was held in place by a purple gold crown that hung down to his shoulders. He looked languid yet noble. On the peerless face, his thin lips curved into a playful arc. That pair of shining black eyes were as dazzling as obsidian. There were 2 jade bottles in his raised hand. Wasn't this the medicinal bottle that Yiqing Luo was looking for? Why are my pills with you? Yiqing Luo glared at Dmo Xian. This man had snuck into her room again without her knowing. That's right, other than Dmo Xian, there wasn't a second person who could sneak into her room and not be discovered by her. Are you sure that this is your elixir? Dmo Xian raised his eyebrows, and the teasing smile on his lips deepened. Yiqing Luo's pink lips quivered as she suddenly understood the reason why he took away the bottle. You dare to accept other men's things? You still dare to use it? Seeing that Yiqing Luo didn't speak, Dmo Xian didn't intend to beat around the bush. He weighed the bottle in his hand and sneered. Lil Luo, or your guts aren't small. I don't know the person who sent the medicine. Hearing Dmo Xian's interrogation, Yiqing Luo, who had a clear conscience, started to feel guilty. It was a fact that she had used other men's pills. She didn't think too much about it at that time, because in Yiqing Luo's eyes, other than Dmo Xian, no matter if it was male or female, they were all treated equally. Chapter 298. The more Dmo Xian asked, the more guilty Yiqing Luo felt. She knew that Dmo Xian wasn't blaming her for accepting other men's things, but he was blaming her for trusting others easily. Dmo Xian was concerned about her. Yiqing Luo's long eyelashes fluttered like butterfly wings as her pink lips pursed slightly. I'm an alchemist. If I don't have full confidence, I won't take it. Even Old Man Song felt that this bottle of pills was of the highest grade, so naturally there wasn't any problem. However, Yiqing Luo's reply made Dmo Xian's expression turn colder as the arc on his lips turned deeper. In that case, you feel that accepting this bottle of pills is the right thing to do. Yiqing Luo. At this moment, how would she dare to nod her head? She pursed her lips as she stared at Dmo Xian's peerless face and shook her head. Since it's not right, then I'm confiscating this pill. Dmo Xian's fingers closed, and that ring which was similar to Yiqing Luo's flashed as he placed the 2 bottles of pills into it. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand and forcefully retracted it. Damn it. Without this bottle of pills to restore her body's energy, then she could only rely on her willpower to carry on with the devil class's training. Rest for a while. Dmo Xian saw her obediently retracting her hand as his lips curled into a satisfied smile. His figure moved slightly, and a purple figure pressed down on Yiqing Luo's eyes. The sandalwood scent assaulted her nostrils, as though it wanted to wrap Yiqing Luo up from head to toe. Following that, Yiqing Luo's head was resting on Dmo Xian's chest. The young lady's petite and soft body was hugged tightly in the man's arms. The man's large palm covered the young lady's head. Sleep, a deep, hoarse, and mellow voice that was like fine wine, gently rang in her ears. Like a melodious lullaby, Yi Qing Luo's body and mind relaxed in his arms as her eyelids became extremely heavy. Her eyes closed and fell asleep in a short while. Yi Qing Luo was woken up by Qi Qi and Shi Ju's licking. When she opened her eyes, Dmo Xian was no longer beside her. She reached out to touch the side of her body, but there was no trace of his warmth. But in the room, there was still a lingering sandalwood scent which made her feel at ease, proving Dmo Xian's existence. After she got off the bed, what attracted Yi Qing Luo's attention wasn't Qi Qi's constant reminders that it was only a short while to the evening, but in the corner hung 2 bamboo poles with her wet uniform and her underwear. Yi Qing Luo's mouth twitched. This man helped her wash her clothes again. Was he really going to be the 24 filial husbands? This time she endured it. That was enough. It was going to happen a second time. So shameful. Yi Qing Luo's cheeks flushed red as she stared at the academy uniform, which was still dripping water. Thinking of Dmo Xian's slender fingers, washing her clothes, washing her intimate clothes. Her cheeks turned even redder. These clothes can still be worn? No, it seemed like she was already wearing it. Yi Qing Luo lowered her head and stared at the clothes on her body. As she recalled the image of Dmo Xian washing the clothes in her mind, her delicate body trembled slightly, and her body temperature seemed to be on the rise. Ow, ow, ow. Qi Qi leaped onto Yi Qing Luo's shoulder, reminding her to pay attention to the time. When she heard the academy's bell ringing, Yi Qing Luo's scorching heat was so scared that she broke out in cold sweat. Chapter 299. In the end, Yi Qing Luo was late. As a member of the class committee, she should set an example. Hence, Yi Qing Luo was punished with double training. After that, every time Yi Qing Luo changed out of the uniform and woke up, the changed clothes would be washed clean and hung on the bamboo. Yi Qing Luo flew into a rage out of humiliation and simply prepared to wash her clothes immediately after her bath. But she was stopped by Wind, who was hiding in the dark. Unable to bear it any longer, Yi Qing Luo said forcefully when Dmo Xian came to the dormitory, "I can wash my clothes myself. You are the overlord, helping a woman wash her clothes. If this gets out, you are too tired from training. Rest more and recover your strength." Not waiting for her to finish, Dmo Xian had already walked over slowly and stretched out his hand to pull her into his arms. "I help my own woman wash clothes. Even if this gets out, so what?" Yi Qing Luo was instantly rendered speechless as she was stuffed with nothing to say. Especially the first time she heard Dmo Xian call her his own woman. Yi Qing Luo's heart was thundering and beating faster. "Just take a good rest. Leave the rest to me." Dmo Xian hugged her waist tightly. His warm breath was inhaling and exhaling bit by bit. The man's low and hoarse voice was filled with helplessness. "You are so stubborn and want to grow up alone, relying on your own strength to walk side by side with me. I am unable to intervene in your training. The only thing I can do for you is this." Yi Qing Luo's face blushed slightly, and a trace of warmth appeared. She slowly raised her head. Her charming eyes were filled with warmth. The slightly raised pink lips revealed a few traces of a shy smile that never appeared on her face. After this, Yi Qing Luo had completely accepted this matter and no longer showed any resistance. Time passed quickly, and it was already half a month later. Tomorrow they would enter the heavenly training forest with a high profound class. In order to let everyone maintain the best condition, the students' training was canceled and let them have a good rest. When the students heard this, they all cheered and shouted excitedly. Yi Qing Luo's tiredness was also tinged with a sense of relaxation. During this period of training, she constantly trained during the day to consolidate her body's quality, and at night, she entered the Azure Dew bracelet to listen to Old Man Song's guidance to cultivate profound qi. There was no spare time at all, and in this period of time, Long Yunjian did not return to the devil class. Yi Qing Luo's request to meet Long Yunjian on behalf of Qi Qi was also pushed back. Tomorrow was the actual combat training, and based on Yi Qing Luo's current status and position in devil class, it was rather awkward. Quite a number of students were waiting for Yi Qing Luo's performance in the actual combat training, especially Tong Ziqing and Dan Baishi. They had suffered a loss in Yi Qing Luo's hands, and after finding out that Yi Qing Luo had become a member of the class committee on the first day she entered the class, the entire class of students seemed to have acknowledged Yi Qing Luo. In this actual combat training, if Yi Qing Luo's performance wasn't outstanding, the both of them would absolutely fall out on the spot. It was better to have a good rest today and conserve energy for tomorrow's training. After quietly waiting for Qiao Jin to finish speaking, the students dispersed. Just as he was about to leave the devil class excitedly, he suddenly heard a rough and arrogant voice coming from outside the courtyard. What the F***CK? The devil class is indeed the devil class. This courtyard is so dilapidated that it's simply unlivable. The excited students' expressions suddenly congealed. Qiao Jin and Yin Xiaoyi's expressions sunk slightly as they exchanged glances and looked towards the tightly shut second door. Chapter 300. For the past few years, other than those students who were forcefully allocated to devil class, no one else was willing to go near this place. But just in case, Long Yinzhan would arrange for a few students to keep watch outside devil class's courtyard, not letting anyone other than the devil class discover the devil class's secret. Coincidentally today, for the matter of entering the heavenly training forest tomorrow, Qiao Jin had set up a small array outside the courtyard and called in the students who were keeping watch outside for a meeting. Someone had broken his array. All the students held their breaths. Damn it, how can this kind of environment allow my Luo lass to study in peace? That voice was still scolding outside. Many students vaguely heard the three words, Luo lass, and their gazes all shifted to Yi Qing Luo. In the entire class, the only one who could be addressed as Luo lass was Yi Qing Luo alone. After Yi Qing Luo heard this voice, she already knew who the person outside was. Such an irritable temper, who kept calling Luo lass, other than Master Guiyu. Who else could it be? It had been almost half a month. Guiyu had mentioned that he wanted to be a master in devil class, but was rejected by the elders. From Lu Xiaoyu's mouth, Guiyu had gone to look for the director. After that, there was no news of Guiyu. She had not expected him to really come to devil class. Perhaps our devil class will have a master to teach in future. Yi Qing Luo's thin lips curled slightly as she slowly walked towards the second door. The students gasped in shock. Master to teach? They had stayed in devil class for at least 5 to 6 years, but had never seen a master to teach. Especially 3 years ago, when Long Yunzhan came. They didn't need those so-called masters. With Long Yunzhan and the class committee, it was enough. Student Yi, that person outside the courtyard, is that the master you know? Xiao Jin's expression was slightly displeased. To them, the devil class was their group. With them supervising the students' training and guiding their cultivation, there was no need for those masters. They were a collective of students and didn't want any outsiders to interfere. I think you should have heard of Old Man Guiyu's name. Yi Qing Luo understood their thoughts, but since Guiyu had already decided on something, even she would not be able to convince him. She could only say the name of the traveling ghost first. Old Man Guiyu's epaulette was just a yellow horizontal line. According to his status, he was the lowest-ranking teacher in the academy. However, he was always acting crazily in the academy. His temper was extremely bad, but he was respected by the other teachers. No one dared to blame him for his mysteriousness. Over time, he also became a man of the moment in the mouths of the students. All the students in the academy had guessed Old Man Guiyu's identity. Because of this, the devil class students had heard of Guiyu when he was mentioned. You mean, Old Man Guiyu is prepared to come to our class and be our teacher? One of the students swallowed hard and asked in disbelief. Guiyu was mysterious and powerful in the eyes of the students, although no one had seen Guiyu fight. But even the masters of the high profound class were submissive in front of Guiyu, which showed Guiyu's strength. Such a strong, mysterious, and insane person. coming to the devil class to be a teacher? Would the academy agree? Xiao Jin frowned. Class monitor still doesn't know about this matter. Regarding Fu Zi, let's wait for class monitor to decide. Now think of a way to send Guei Yu away from the devil class. Chapter 301. But before they could react, Old Man Guei Yu had already reached the second door. His steps had always been heavy and swaying, as if he was drunk. The students heard it clearly, and their faces changed. Each of them held their breaths, afraid that Old Man Guei Yu outside the courtyard would sense their presence. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she sized up the expressions of the surrounding students. These students obviously didn't want any masters to discover the devil class's secret, even if this master was extremely mysterious and powerful. Little brats, why aren't you coming out to welcome me when you hear my voice? What kind of cowardice are you guys? Outside the courtyard, Old Man Guei Yu roared in a rough voice. Yiqing Luo suddenly recalled that in order to prevent outsiders from discovering this training ground, Beiming Lulu had smeared a bunch of unknown drugs on the door. If Old Man Guei Yu touched those drugs, her expression changed and immediately shouted, "Master Guei Yu, don't push the door." Just as her voice fell, a strong gust of wind was set off. Yiqing Luo's open mouth was sprayed with a mouthful of sand. Immediately, a boom sound was heard and the second door fell straight down. Sand and pebbles flew as the dust curled up. Yiqing Luo was stunned. The students were also stunned. What kind of broken door is this? How dare you block my way? A valiant and spirited voice spat out fiercely. In the midst of the dust, a slender figure was faintly discernible. Old Man Guei Yu was wearing a loose teacher's white robe. Both of his hands were in the middle of retracting his palms. His face, which was full of wrinkles and appeared fierce, was filled with an impatient expression. Perhaps Old Man Guei Yu was going to meet the students today, so he had specially tied his usual messy hair into a teacher's hairstyle. After the dust dispersed, Old Man Guei Yu saw Yiqing Luo standing at the door, messy in the wind. He was beaming with joy as he quickly walked into the training ground and opened his arms to embrace Yiqing Luo. "Luo lass, I'm here. Ha 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 ha. I'm finally here to be your teacher." Old Man Guei Yu's character was so simple and crude. The students, each of them felt like there were thousands of horses galloping and roaring in their hearts. Damn, this old man was the legendary Old Man Guei Yu? Are you sure he's not a crazy old man? The most important thing was their door that was immune to all poisons. It was destroyed just like that. Cough, cough, cough. Yiqing Luo suddenly choked and spat out the sand in her mouth. "Master Guei Yu." Old Man Guei Yu wrapped his arm around Yiqing Luo's shoulder and said with a grin, "You don't know how much I have suffered in order to be your teacher. That old fellow, the dean, want me to back off in the face of difficulties. Hee hee. My heart to teach Luo Yu is not something he can stop." The first sentence, Old Man Guei Yu's tone seemed to be seeking credit from Yiqing Luo. The last sentence was filled with pride. She didn't know if it was Yiqing Luo's misperception, but when he mentioned the director, that pair of turbid eyes of Old Man Guei Yu vaguely revealed a hint of ridicule. In the blink of an eye, it was replaced by complacency. It was so fast that Yiqing Luo wondered if she had seen wrongly. This is... Xiao Jin's expression was extremely ugly. Before he could stop Old Man Guei Yu, he had already barged in. If Old Man Guei Yu revealed the devil class's secret to the academy, these students who had turned over a new leaf would definitely be dispersed to other classes. Thinking of this, Xiao Jin's expression turned even uglier. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.